In the quiet architecture of the human body, there exists a network of communication so refined, so delicate, that it operates without sound, without light, and without our conscious awareness. Each moment, millions of messages are sent from one region of the body to another, carried not by spoken words or visible signals, but by molecules that drift silently through the bloodstream. These are the hormones, the body's chemical messengers, and they speak a language older than memory itself. While the nervous system delivers its signals with the speed of lightning, the endocrine system moves with patience, speaking softly but with lasting influence. Through its gentle rhythm, it coordinates the slow unfolding of life, the steady pulse of growth, the balancing of metabolism, and the serene dance of emotion. Imagine the body as an immense, intricate city, a living landscape of tissues, organs, and cells. Every cell within it has a role to play, yet none operates in isolation. Just as a city requires communication between its neighborhoods to maintain order, the human body depends on an unbroken flow of messages to maintain harmony. Some of these messages are carried by the nerves, swift electric impulses darting along fibers like flashes of light through the night. Others, more gradual, are entrusted to the bloodstream. These are the hormones, drifting like gentle notes through the rivers of blood, ensuring that every cell receives its quiet instruction. Each hormone carries a meaning, a coded message in its molecular form. A molecule of insulin released from the pancreas might whisper to distant muscle cells to draw in glucose from the blood. A surge of melatonin from the pineal gland at dusk might tell the brain that night has come and it is time to rest. Cortisol, from the adrenal glands, may signal the body to wake, to rise, to meet the coming day. These messages are constant, weaving through every heartbeat, every breath. Even now, as you listen, your glands are sending out subtle streams of information, invisible, effortless, perfectly timed. This orchestration of internal communication is known as the endocrine system. From the Greek words endon, meaning within, and krenine, meaning to separate or to secrete. Its task is to send signals that coordinate the activities of distant organs. Unlike the nervous system, which sends electrical impulses to specific destinations, the endocrine system relies on the circulatory system to distribute its messages throughout the body. Each hormone, once released, travels through the bloodstream until it finds its target cells, cells that possess the right receptors to understand and respond. The relationship between a hormone and its receptor is intimate, like a key fitting perfectly into a lock. Only the correct match will open the door to a response. There is a certain poetry in this process. The pancreas, the thyroid, the adrenal glands, and the pituitary each perform their role as though reading from an ancient script. The pituitary, a small, pea-sized structure nestled beneath the brain, acts as a conductor, directing other glands to release or restrain their hormones as needed. The thyroid, shaped like a butterfly and resting gently against the trachea, governs metabolism and energy. The adrenal glands, perched atop the kidneys, release adrenaline and cortisol in times of need. The pancreas, resting behind the stomach, balances the delicate tides of blood sugar. Each of these glands operates both independently and in harmony, maintaining a delicate equilibrium called homeostasis, a state of inner balance that allows the body to thrive despite the constant changes of the external world. This harmony is not rigid but fluid. When the environment cools, hormones adjust metabolism to preserve warmth. When the heart races with excitement, hormones help the body recover its calm. When the sun sets, the pineal gland releases melatonin to guide the body into rest. The dialogue never ends, for the body is always listening to itself, always responding to its own quiet signals. These signals do not command with force, but with grace. A single molecule, traveling through the bloodstream, may alter the behavior of a distant cell in profound and lasting ways. Consider for a moment how remarkable that is that a single gland, weighing less than a few grams, can influence the growth of bones, the rhythm of sleep, and the unfolding of mood. Hormones are not merely chemical substances. They are translators between the inner and outer worlds of the body. When you step into sunlight, when you eat, when you feel joy or sorrow, hormones carry these experiences inward, transforming them into physical responses. In this way, the endocrine system becomes a bridge between emotion and physiology, between thought and flesh. Inside the brain, the hypothalamus serves as the meeting point between the nervous and endocrine systems. It senses the body's needs, temperature, hydration, hunger, stress, and directs the pituitary gland accordingly. If the body requires more energy, the pituitary sends a signal to the thyroid to increase metabolism. These messages ripple outward, influencing every organ system. Through this interplay, the brain and body speak a shared language, electrical and chemical, immediate and enduring. And yet, this communication remains largely unnoticed. We do not feel the secretion of insulin or the release of oxytocin, though their effects shape our every experience. When you drift to sleep, melatonin's gentle rise has already prepared the way. When you wake in the morning, cortisol's subtle surge brings alertness to your mind. When you embrace someone you love, oxytocin fills your bloodstream, deepening connection, softening anxiety. All of this unfolds silently beneath awareness, guided by molecules so small they can barely be measured, yet so powerful that without them, life would unravel. What makes this system even more remarkable is its precision. Each hormone acts only where it is needed. Cells that lack the appropriate receptor remain unaffected, allowing the body to maintain specificity even as hormones circulate freely. It is as though each hormone carries an invisible address label, ensuring its message reaches only the intended recipient. In this way, the body achieves both efficiency and control, an elegant economy of communication. The language of hormones is not one of haste, but of patience. Unlike the nervous system's swift impulses, hormonal effects take time to unfold, sometimes seconds, sometimes hours, sometimes days. The growth of a child, the rhythm of a menstrual cycle, the gentle changes of aging. All of these depend on the slow and measured work of hormones. They set the tempo of life, ensuring that change occurs not in abrupt leaps, but in steady transitions. Through them, the body learns endurance, adaptation, and balance. This measured pace also brings a certain peace. Even when external life seems hurried, within you there remains a quiet order. The glands continue their work untroubled by haste. They sense, they release, they adjust, and in doing so, they keep the internal world serene. This continuous self-regulation, this whispering conversation among glands, cells, and organs is what allows you to live, to think, to rest, and to dream. In the stillness of the night, as the world around you grows quiet, your body does not sleep in the same way your mind does. The endocrine system continues its tireless rhythm, releasing the gentle wave of hormones that repair tissues, restore energy, and prepare you for a new day. Growth hormone peaks during sleep, guiding the renewal of cells. Melatonin deepens rest, aligning your internal clock. The body becomes its own caretaker, its own healer. In essence, the story of hormones is the story of life's coordination, a symphony of molecules moving in harmony through every living being. Long before the brain could form thoughts, this system existed, guiding the simplest organisms through cycles of hunger and rest, mating and growth. It is one of the oldest languages in biology, the quiet speech of survival. As you continue to listen and drift, imagine these messages flowing through your bloodstream, invisible, purposeful, serene. Picture the glands like small lanterns glowing within the body, each releasing its unique light, contributing to a vast and gentle harmony. This is the unseen dialogue that sustains you, the patient music of the body's chemistry, and as it continues, you may find that the awareness of it brings not only understanding, but peace, a reminder that even in silence, even in stillness, life within you is always speaking. 2. What are hormones? To understand hormones is to step into one of the most intricate conversations in all of hers, to the most intricate conversations, biology, a conversation that occurs not through words or gestures, but through molecules drifting quietly within the bloodstream. Hormones are, at their essence, chemical messengers. They are the body's own language of coordination, ensuring that every cell, tissue, and organ knows its role and responds in time. Without them, the body's many systems would fall into silence, disconnected from one another. Yet with them, the body becomes a living symphony, its functions woven together through invisible threads of communication. A hormone is born within a gland, often deep within the body's protected spaces. It begins as a molecule assembled from simple components, chains of amino acids, rings of cholesterol, or fragments of lipids. Once formed, it may rest in storage until the moment of release, or it may be secreted immediately in response to a signal from the brain. When the time comes, the gland opens its cellular gates, and the hormone enters the bloodstream. From there, it travels wherever the current of life will take it, through arteries and veins, through capillaries thinner than a strand of hair, until it finds the cells it was meant to reach. What makes a hormone special is not only its journey, but its destination. Every hormone has a specific audience, a group of cells equipped with unique receptors, molecular shapes designed to recognize and respond to that hormone alone. When a hormone finds such a receptor, the two fit together with precision, as if nature herself had carved them to match. The moment this connection occurs, a chain of events begins within the cell. Enzymes awaken, proteins rearrange, and messages cascade through microscopic pathways. What began as a single molecule floating in the bloodstream now becomes a signal capable of transforming entire organs. There are many kinds of hormones, and though their forms differ, their purpose is always the same: to maintain balance within the body. Some are derived from proteins or peptides, small chains of amino acids that dissolve easily in blood and act quickly, like insulin or glucagon. Others arise from lipids, such as the steroid hormones formed from cholesterol. These include cortisol, estrogen, and testosterone, substances that slip effortlessly through cell membranes and bind to receptors deep within the cell's interior. A third group, known as amine hormones, are derived from single amino acids, such as tyrosine or tryptophan. These include the familiar adrenaline and melatonin, each capable of influencing mood, alertness, and sleep. Despite their chemical differences, all hormones share a fundamental trait: they act at a distance. The cells that release them are rarely the same cells that receive their message. This distinguishes the endocrine system from the nervous system, where communication occurs between adjacent cells across narrow synapses. Hormonal messages, by contrast, are broadcast widely through the bloodstream, reaching distant corners of the body. Yet even within this vast network, precision is preserved. Only the intended target cells respond, leaving all others untouched, like instruments waiting for their cue in a grand orchestra. Hormones also differ in how long their effects last. Some act swiftly and fade just as quickly, as with adrenaline's burst of energy during moments of excitement or fear. Others linger, shaping the body over days, months, or even years. The gradual rise of estrogen and progesterone through a menstrual cycle, or the steady influence of growth hormone during childhood, reveals how hormones sculpt time itself within the body. Through their rhythms, the body moves from waking to sleeping, from youth to maturity, from action to rest. The quantity of a hormone in the bloodstream at any moment is astonishingly small. Often, It is measured in nanograms or picograms per milliliter, a concentration so low that it seems almost impossible that such a tiny amount could exert such vast control. And yet, through amplification within the target cells, these minute traces can trigger powerful physiological responses. This sensitivity is what allows the endocrine system to maintain homeostasis, the delicate balance of internal conditions that sustains life. Even a minor change in hormone level can influence heart rate, appetite, temperature, or mood. The body senses these shifts and compensates accordingly, adjusting production to keep equilibrium. The concept of homeostasis lies at the heart of hormonal action. Every living organism must maintain stable internal conditions, despite the constant changes of the external world. Hormones are the means by which this constancy is achieved. When blood sugar rises after a meal, insulin is released to lower it. When it falls during fasting, glucagon restores it. When water levels drop, antidiuretic hormone tells the kidneys to conserve moisture. When stress threatens, cortisol mobilizes energy and calms inflammation. Through these balancing acts, hormones protect the body from chaos, maintaining a state of poised, living balance. The process by which hormones are regulated is elegant in its simplicity. Most operate through negative feedback loops, in which the outcome of a hormonal action eventually signals its own reduction. For instance, when thyroid hormone levels rise in the blood, they signal the pituitary gland to slow its release of thyroid-stimulating hormone, preventing overproduction. When levels fall, the inhibition lifts. This constant, rhythmic adjustment is much like the steady breathing of the body, expansion and contraction, rise and fall, an unending oscillation that preserves harmony. At the other end of the spectrum, a few hormones function through positive feedback, where an effect amplifies itself. The most familiar example occurs during childbirth. As labor begins, the hormone oxytocin is released, triggering uterine contractions. Each contraction then stimulates the release of more oxytocin, intensifying the process until birth is complete. Afterward, the cycle stops. This brief surrender to escalation shows that even in the body's quiet design for stability, there is room for powerful moments of transformation. The discovery of hormones is a relatively recent chapter in the long story of science. For much of human history, the inner workings of glands were a mystery. It was only in the late 19th century that researchers began to realize that the body contained chemical messengers capable of influencing distant organs. Early experiments revealed that extracts from certain glands could reproduce their physiological effects when transferred to another animal. From these observations grew the field of endocrinology, the study of hormonal communication. Today, scientists have identified dozens of hormones, each with its own function, structure, and rhythm of release. Yet even now, hormones remain mysterious in their subtlety. They do not command like generals or dictate like rulers. They guide with softness, encouraging cells toward balance. Their work is cooperative rather than authoritarian. No single hormone acts alone. Every signal interacts with others in a complex web of influence. The result is a kind of biological democracy, where countless tiny voices contribute to the whole. The growth of bone depends not only on growth hormone, but also on insulin, thyroid hormone, and sex hormones. Metabolism involves the interplay of thyroid hormones, insulin, and cortisol. Reproduction depends on a delicate sequence of hormonal cues that must align in perfect timing. If one were to visualize the endocrine system in motion, it might appear as a gentle tide moving through the body, rising and falling, carrying messages from one shore to another. Each molecule travels quietly, performing its task without recognition. There is no sound, no sensation, only the steady hum of chemistry translating life's needs into action. This unseen movement sustains the body's continuity, allowing organs to cooperate, cells to renew, and the mind to experience the world with calm awareness. It is tempting to think of hormones purely as biological tools, but in truth, they are part of something more profound. They are the instruments through which the body expresses its unity. When you feel hunger, it is ghrelin speaking, from your stomach to your brain. When you feel full, leptin delivers the reply. When you experience affection, oxytocin binds that emotion into the rhythm of your heartbeat. Hormones are the bridge between the tangible and the intangible, between chemistry and feeling, biology and being. As night approaches, certain hormones rise, while others fall. Melatonin signals that it is time to rest. Cortisol fades into quiet. Growth hormone begins its nocturnal work of repair. This shifting pattern continues through every hour of every day, an internal, clock keeping perfect time with the cycles of light and dark. Through this rhythm, the body renews itself endlessly, guided by its chemical whispers. To know what hormones are is to glimpse the elegance of life's design, a system of messages that ensures order amid complexity. Each molecule, each signal, each response is a thread in the vast fabric of existence, and though unseen, this fabric holds you together from moment to moment. Breath to breath, the hormones move on, patient and constant, speaking their ancient language within you, the language that keeps the body alive, aware, and beautifully whole. 3. The endocrine system, a network of silent voices. Beneath the surface of every heartbeat and breath, the human body maintains a profound and silent conversation within itself. This conversation flows through a network of glands and cells known as the endocrine system, a vast, invisible architecture of communication that guides every moment of life. It is a system that never sleeps, never ceases its dialogue, and never loses its rhythm. It carries out its work in soft pulses, in whispers of chemistry, speaking a language that the body has known since the earliest beginnings of life on Earth. To understand the endocrine system is to glimpse how balance is maintained, how growth unfolds, and how harmony is preserved among the countless processes that sustain you. The endocrine system is made up of glands scattered throughout the body, each with a distinct shape and role, yet all united by a common purpose: to secrete hormones into the bloodstream. These glands are small and often hidden, the thyroid curled like a butterfly at the base of the neck, the adrenal glands perched like tiny caps atop the kidneys, the pancreas nestled behind the stomach, and the pituitary cradled deep within the skull. Despite their modest size, their influence is vast. Through the release of their chemical messengers, these glands coordinate nearly every physiological system: metabolism, growth, reproduction, mood, and even the pace of aging. At the center of this network lies a remarkable partnership between the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland, often described as the command center of the endocrine system. The hypothalamus, a small region of the brain located just above the pituitary, acts as a bridge between the nervous and endocrine systems. It senses the internal conditions of the body: temperature, blood pressure, levels of nutrients, and emotional states, and responds by signaling the pituitary gland to adjust its hormone output. In turn, the pituitary releases hormones that travel through the bloodstream to stimulate or inhibit other glands throughout the body. It is a system built on precision and trust, one part responding to another in a loop of quiet feedback. From this central command, the endocrine message radiates outward. The thyroid gland, shaped like a delicate butterfly, produces hormones such as thyroxine and triiodothyronine, which regulate metabolism, the speed at which the body converts food into energy. When thyroid hormones are in perfect balance, energy levels feel steady, body temperature remains constant, and the rhythm of life continues smoothly. If the thyroid releases too much hormone, the body may rush ahead in restless acceleration. Too little, and everything slows, as though the flame beneath life's processes burns low. Behind the thyroid lie the parathyroid glands, 4 tiny structures no larger than grains of rice, yet essential for maintaining calcium balance. They release parathyroid hormone, which controls how calcium moves between bones, blood, and tissues. In this delicate exchange, the body ensures that muscles contract properly, that nerves transmit signals, and that bones remain strong. The balance is continuous, adjusting moment by moment in response to the body's needs. Farther below, the pancreas performs a dual role as both an endocrine and exocrine organ. Within it are clusters of specialized cells called the islets of Langerhans. These cells release insulin and glucagon, hormones that regulate blood sugar. Insulin lowers blood glucose by guiding it into cells for energy storage, while glucagon raises it when fuel is needed. Together, they maintain a steady internal environment despite changes in diet, activity, or stress. The pancreas exemplifies the endocrine system's central mission: stability through constant communication. Resting like small pyramids atop the kidneys are the adrenal glands, twin sentinels of response and adaptation. Each gland consists of two layers, the outer cortex and the inner medulla. The cortex secretes steroid hormones, such as cortisol and aldosterone. Cortisol mobilizes energy and helps the body respond to stress, while aldosterone regulates sodium and water balance, maintaining blood pressure and fluid levels. The medulla, the gland's inner core, produces adrenaline and noradrenaline, the hormones of the fight or flight response. When the body senses danger or excitement, these chemicals surge into the bloodstream, quickening the heart, sharpening the senses, and preparing muscles for action. Yet, once the moment passes, their levels subside and calm returns. Through this ebb and flow, the adrenal glands keep the body ready for whatever life may bring. Further along the network, the reproductive glands, the ovaries in females, and the testes in males play their own essential roles. The ovaries produce estrogen and progesterone, guiding the menstrual cycle, fertility, and the development of secondary sexual characteristics. The testes secrete testosterone, influencing the production of sperm and the deepening of the voice, muscle development, and facial hair growth. Beyond their physical functions, these hormones shape mood, energy, and emotional connection. They help define the ebbing and flowing patterns of human life, youth, maturity, and aging, all marked by changes in hormonal rhythm. Another, often overlooked participant in this network is the pineal gland, a tiny structure deep within the brain. It secretes melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep and wakefulness. Sensitive to light, the pineal gland aligns the body's internal clock with the natural cycles of day and night. As evening falls and darkness gathers, melatonin levels rise, bringing a sense of calm and drowsiness. When morning light returns, its production fades, allowing wakefulness to emerge once again. Through this gentle rhythm, the endocrine system keeps time with the turning of the earth itself. Each of these glands performs its own part, yet none acts in isolation. They are linked by feedback loops, a kind of internal communication that ensures stability. When one hormone's level rises, another may decrease. When one function accelerates, another slows to balance it. This interdependence means that even small changes in one gland can ripple throughout the system, influencing energy, mood, and vitality. It is not unlike an ecosystem, where the well-being of one element sustains the health of the whole. The cooperation between these glands reveals the wisdom of biological design. There is no central command issuing orders in a rigid hierarchy. Instead, there is dialogue, a mutual responsiveness that adapts moment by moment to the body's needs. When stress arises, the hypothalamus activates the pituitary, which in turn signals the adrenal glands to release cortisol. As cortisol levels rise, they feed back to the brain, signaling that the response has been sufficient. When the danger passes, the system quiets itself once more. The cycle completes without conscious effort, as if guided by an internal intelligence woven into the fabric of life. The endocrine system's reach extends even to the smallest details of daily experience. When you feel hunger, ghrelin from the stomach whispers to the brain that it is time to eat. After a meal, leptin from fat cells signals satisfaction, encouraging rest. When you fall in love, oxytocin surges through your bloodstream, deepening trust and emotional closeness. When you face challenges, cortisol and adrenaline sharpen your focus and keep you steady. Each of these responses is a note in the ongoing melody of internal communication. It is easy to forget that such complexity exists beneath the surface of ordinary life. The endocrine system does not announce itself. It does not clamor for attention. It works in stillness, adjusting, balancing, guiding a network of silent voices shaping the human experience. From birth to old age, it orchestrates growth and renewal, sleep and waking, hunger and satisfaction, stress and calm. It mediates every transition, allowing the body to remain stable even as the world around it changes. When viewed as a whole, the endocrine system is not merely a collection of glands, but an expression of the body's wisdom, a system of harmony that allows each part of you to communicate with every other part. It embodies the principle of unity through diversity, showing that health is not achieved by uniformity but by cooperation. The thyroid does not compete with the pancreas. The adrenals do not override the ovaries. Each contributes its own rhythm to the greater music of life. As you rest and breathe, these glands continue their conversation. The hypothalamus listens to the pulse of the body. The pituitary transmits quiet signals to distant organs. The glands respond with precision. The balance they create sustains warmth, strength, and clarity. This is the living harmony within you, a harmony older than thought, constant as the tide, and soft as the whisper of blood beneath the skin. 4. Biochemical origins of hormones. Every hormone begins its existence, not as a finished messenger, but as a pattern of atoms, arranged in silence. Within the depths of a cell, countless molecular reactions unfold, linking and shaping simple elements into substances capable of carrying life's messages. These invisible processes are the source of hormonal creation, the biochemical origins of the body's most refined signals, though unseen and rarely felt. This microscopic world is one of extraordinary precision, where chemistry becomes communication and raw matter is transformed into meaning. In the most fundamental sense, hormones are made from the same materials that compose the rest of the body: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and a scattering of other elements. The difference lies in how these atoms are assembled. Enzymes, the body's molecular artisans, guide each reaction in perfect order. They fold, cut, and modify molecules like craftsmen shaping tools. Within the rough geometry of biochemistry, there emerges elegant patterns of repetition and variation, subtle enough to determine whether a molecule will excite, inhibit, or soothe its target cell. Every hormone, from the simplest to the most complex, traces its lineage back to the delicate dance of atoms within these living workshops. Broadly speaking, hormones arise from three principal families of molecules: amino acids, peptides or proteins, and lipids. Each type is born in a different way, carries distinct properties, and travels through the body along its own path. Yet they all share a single purpose: to serve as messages that maintain balance and coordination throughout the organism. The first group, derived from amino acids, includes some of the smallest and fastest acting hormones. Amino acids themselves are simple organic compounds, the building blocks of proteins. Through slight modifications, certain amino acids are converted into powerful chemical messengers. One such example is tyrosine, which serves as the precursor for several critical hormones. Through a series of transformations, tyrosine gives rise to dopamine, norepinephrine, and epinephrine, collectively known as catecholamines. These hormones, produced in the adrenal medulla and certain nerve cells, are responsible for the body's rapid responses to stress and excitement. They race through the bloodstream in moments of urgency, quickening the pulse, sharpening attention, and preparing muscles for action. From the same amino acid, another path leads to the thyroid hormones, thyroxine and triiodhyronine, which govern the rate of metabolism. Their creation is a feat of biochemical precision. Within the thyroid gland, tyrosine residues are attached to a large protein called thyroglobulin, and iodine atoms are delicately placed upon them. This incorporation of iodine, an element drawn from the diet, makes thyroid hormones unique among all others. When released into the blood, these molecules travel to nearly every cell in the body, where they influence how oxygen and nutrients are converted into energy. In their quiet way, they determine the tempo of life itself. Another amino acid, tryptophan, gives rise to the hormones serotonin and melatonin. Serotonin, produced in both the brain and the digestive tract, acts as a chemical mediator of mood, appetite, and sleep. From serotonin, in the pineal gland, melatonin is formed, a hormone that regulates the body's internal clock. Each night, as darkness falls, tryptophan's molecular journey culminates in a signal that tells the body to rest. Thus, from the simplest of molecules, a chain of transformations gives rise to the gentle rhythm of sleep and wakefulness. The second family of hormones, the peptides and proteins, forms the largest and most diverse group. Peptide hormones are made from short chains of amino acids, while protein hormones are composed of longer, more intricate sequences. Both are synthesized on tiny cellular structures called ribosomes, which read the instructions encoded in the DNA and assemble amino acids. Accordingly, once the basic chain is complete, it is folded into a specific shape, sometimes joined with other chains, and modified within cellular compartments. When finished, the hormone is stored in small vesicles until a signal tells the cell to release it. Insulin is perhaps the best known of these peptide hormones, produced by the beta cells of the pancreas. It consists of two peptide chains linked by disulfide bridges, molecular bonds that give it stability. When blood glucose rises, insulin is secreted into the bloodstream. It binds to receptors on the surface of target cells, allowing glucose to enter and be converted into energy. Through this elegant mechanism, a molecule of modest size maintains one of life's most essential balances. Other peptide hormones include glucagon, growth hormone, oxytocin, and vasopressin. Each one acts through a similar process of synthesis and release, though their effects differ profoundly. Oxytocin, produced in the hypothalamus and released by the posterior pituitary, influences emotional bonding, childbirth, and lactation. Vasopressin, also known as antidiuretic hormone, regulates water balance by signaling the kidneys to conserve fluid. Growth hormone, secreted by the anterior pituitary, stimulates cell growth and repair throughout the body. Though their molecular structures vary, they share a common origin. The final group, the steroid hormones, emerges from a very different biochemical pathway. Instead of amino acids, these hormones are derived from lipids, specifically cholesterol. Within the adrenal cortex, gonads, and certain other tissues, enzymes modify cholesterol step by step, trimming and reshaping its molecular rings to form hormones such as cortisol, aldosterone, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Interior. There, they bind to receptors in the cytoplasm or nucleus, altering the expression of genes themselves. Their actions unfold more slowly than those of peptide hormones, but their effects are deep and long-lasting, influencing metabolism, reproduction, immune function, and mood. Cortisol, one of the most versatile steroid hormones, helps the body adapt to stress. It mobilizes energy by promoting the breakdown of fats and proteins, ensuring that fuel is available during demanding times. Aldosterone, also produced by the adrenal cortex, conserves sodium and water, stabilizing blood pressure. In the reproductive organs, estrogen and progesterone guide the female cycle, and prepare the body for pregnancy, while testosterone drives the development of male characteristics and maintains muscle mass and bone strength. Each of these hormones carries the chemical signature of its origin, the lipid framework that allows it to move freely through cell membranes, whispering directly to the nucleus of its target cell. The synthesis of hormones, though invisible, is governed by extraordinary control. The cell does not produce them at random. Each step is triggered by precise signals, often from other hormones. The pituitary gland may release a stimulating hormone that activates the thyroid or adrenal cortex. Feedback loops then ensure that production ceases once the correct level is reached. In this way, the body prevents excess and deficiency, maintaining an elegant equilibrium. If one imagines the endocrine system as an orchestra, then these feedback loops are its tuning constant, subtle adjustments that keep the music of life in perfect pitch. Even after their release, hormones continue to be shaped by the chemistry of the body. Some are bound to carrier proteins in the blood, which protect them and extend their lifespan. Others are rapidly degraded by enzymes, ensuring that their influence fades when no longer needed. The liver and kidneys play a vital role in this process, filtering and excreting hormone remnants, clearing the stage for the next performance. Nothing is wasted, and nothing lasts longer than necessary. What is most striking about the biochemical origins of hormones is how seamlessly they connect the physical and the vital. Out of atoms and molecules, substances with no awareness, no purpose of their own, arise signals capable of coordinating thought, feeling, and behavior. The instructions for their creation lie encoded in DNA, a molecular language billions of years old. Through its transcription and translation, the cell produces molecules that allow the organism to sense its own state and respond accordingly. The chemistry of life, in this sense, becomes a kind of consciousness, a self-awareness at the cellular level. Every moment, this creation continues within you. Enzymes fold, molecules assemble, and tiny bursts of energy drive reactions that sustain the body's harmony. The bloodstream becomes a current of purpose, carrying newly formed hormones to their destinations. They leave their point of origin as mere molecules and arrive as messages, instructions for growth, balance, renewal. In this quiet alchemy, matter becomes meaning, and chemistry becomes life. As you rest and breathe, these unseen processes go on tirelessly. Each gland, each cell, participates in this timeless cycle of creation and release. It is a rhythm older than words, older than thought, the rhythm by which the body speaks to itself, ensuring that life continues in peace and balance. Through the endless turning of this molecular wheel, the body remains whole, unified, and alive, bound together by the gentle chemistry of its own making. 5. How hormones travel and find their targets. Once a hormone has been formed within its gland and released into the bloodstream, its journey truly begins. From that moment onward, it moves through a world both vast and delicate, a landscape of vessels, tissues, and cells, alive and waiting to receive its quiet message. It does not move with conscious direction or effort, but with the natural flow of blood, carried by the pulse of the heart and the rhythm of circulation. Yet, despite traveling in a sea of countless other molecules, each hormone finds its destination with astonishing precision. It drifts through the labyrinth of the body's internal rivers until it reaches the very cells it was meant to touch. The bloodstream is the great highway of hormonal travel. Every beat of the heart sends waves of blood coursing through arteries, then narrowing into capillaries, the thinnest vessels where hormones can leave the bloodstream and enter the tissues. Some hormones are released in bursts, others in slow and steady streams, but all move within this fluid network that reaches every corner of the body. The process is effortless and constant. The same circulation that delivers oxygen and nutrients also carries these invisible messages, ensuring that the body's farthest cells remain in communication with one another. Most peptide and protein hormones dissolve freely in plasma, mingling easily with the watery medium of the blood. They travel unbound, moving swiftly from one region to another. Steroid hormones and certain thyroid hormones, however, are not water-soluble. To journey through the bloodstream, they attach themselves to transport proteins, which act like ferries, carrying them safely through the currents. These carrier proteins not only protect the hormones from being broken down too quickly, but also serve as a reserve, releasing them gradually when needed. In this way, the body maintains both immediacy and endurance, quick responses where necessary, and long-term stability where constant signaling is required. When a hormone leaves its gland and enters circulation, it does not act upon every cell it encounters. Receptors will respond. These receptors are specialized proteins, each shaped to fit a particular hormone, much like a lock designed for a single key. Cells without the corresponding receptor remain unaffected, even though the hormone may pass by in abundance. This specificity ensures order amid complexity, allowing hundreds of hormones to circulate simultaneously without confusion. Once a hormone binds to its receptor, the message it carries is translated into cellular action. The nature of this action depends on both the hormone and the receptor's location. Some receptors sit on the outer surface of the cell membrane, while others lie deep within the cell's interior. Peptide hormones, being too large or too charged to cross the membrane, must communicate with receptors on the surface. When one of these hormones binds, it triggers a cascade of events inside the cell, often through molecules known as second messengers. These small intermediaries, such as cyclic AMP or calcium ions, amplify the original signal, ensuring that even a single binding event can produce a significant response. This system of amplification allows the body to respond swiftly and powerfully to even minute changes in hormone levels. When a molecule of adrenaline binds to its receptor on a heart cell, for instance, it sets off a chain reaction that increases heart rate and contractile strength. The hormone itself does not enter the cell, it simply sets the machinery in motion. Like a conductor raising a baton, it directs a performance that unfolds within the cellular interior. The message, though brief, ripples through the body as an unmistakable call to action. Steroid hormones, in contrast, take a slower and more intimate route. Because they are derived from lipids, they can slip through the cell membrane with ease. Together, the hormone and receptor form a complex that attaches to specific regions of the cell's DNA, influencing which genes are expressed. In this way, steroid hormones do not merely trigger temporary responses, they reshape the very patterns of cellular behavior. The effects unfold gradually, altering protein synthesis and guiding long-term processes such as growth, reproduction, and metabolism. A single molecule of estrogen, for instance, may activate genes that cause a cell to divide or a tissue to change its structure over days or weeks. The precision of hormonal targeting is extraordinary. Receptors can differ slightly from one tissue to another, allowing the same hormone to produce different effects depending on its location. Adrenaline, for example, causes blood vessels in the skin to constrict, while those in skeletal muscles widen, an elegant distribution of blood flow that prepares the body for activity. These variations arise from subtle differences in receptor type and cellular context. Through this molecular diversity, the body achieves complex coordination from simple signals, ensuring that no two organs respond in exactly the same way. The process does not end with the hormone's arrival. Once it has delivered its message, it must be cleared from circulation to prevent overstimulation. Some hormones detach from their receptors and are broken down by enzymes in the blood or liver. Others are reabsorbed and recycled by their glands of origin. The rate at which this happens, known as the hormone's half-life, varies widely. Adrenaline may vanish from the bloodstream within minutes, while thyroid hormones can linger for days. This variation allows the body to layer its communication, quick signals that fade as soon as the task is done, and enduring ones that shape the body's long-term equilibrium. Feedback mechanisms ensure that hormones are released in the right amount and at the right time. When a target cell or organ responds, it often sends a signal back to the source, modulating further release. This constant dialogue keeps the system balanced. If blood glucose levels fall too low, the pancreas releases glucagon to restore them. Once balance is achieved, glucagon secretion slows. If stress persists, the hypothalamus and pituitary coordinate with the adrenal glands to adjust cortisol levels precisely. These exchanges occur endlessly, maintaining homeostasis, the body's natural equilibrium, with exquisite sensitivity. Some are released in pulses every few minutes. Others rise and fall with the hours of the day. Cortisol peaks in the early morning, preparing the body to awaken and face the day, then declines toward evening. Growth hormone surges during deep sleep, aiding in tissue repair and renewal. These circadian and ultradian rhythms ensure that hormones act not randomly but in synchrony with the body's internal clock. In this way, hormonal travel becomes part of a larger cosmic rhythm: the turning of the earth, the alternation of light and dark, the gentle pattern of waking and rest. Within this system lies an understated elegance. There are no words spoken, no conscious awareness of the exchange, yet it governs everything from the rate of breathing to the feeling of hunger, from the quiet pulse of the heart to the warmth of emotion. A single molecule traveling invisibly through the blood can change how energy is used, how tissues grow, and even how one perceives the world. These messages are as old as life itself, shared by nearly all living creatures, from plants that release growth hormones to guide their shoots toward the light, to animals whose hormonal systems mirror our own in their subtlety. As the hormone completes its journey and the body adjusts to its message, balance is restored once more. The bloodstream continues its endless circulation, carrying new signals to new destinations, keeping the organism in a state of harmony. This constancy, the quiet assurance that beneath the noise of thought and motion, an intricate network of chemical travelers moves ceaselessly to preserve the delicate order of life. If you could see inside this system, it would not appear chaotic, but graceful, a choreography of molecules guided by purpose. Each hormone released, each receptor activated, each cell responding in kind, contributes to the seamless communication that sustains your existence. Even now, as you rest and breathe, these messengers are gliding through your veins, finding their destinations, whispering their instructions, and then fading back into silence. It is through this endless movement, this soft exchange between molecule and cell, that the miracle of balance continues, the ceaseless harmony of the living body, speaking its own eternal language of chemistry and calm. 6. Signal transduction, the whisper within the cell. When a hormone finally arrives at its destination, its journey through the bloodstream ends, but another voyage begins, a quieter one, unfolding within the cell itself. This is the realm of signal transduction, where the message that began as a drifting molecule becomes an act of transformation. The process is invisible, microscopic, and yet profoundly powerful. It is the way in which a single signal from the outside world is received, interpreted, and translated into the countless biological actions that sustain life. Through it, the cell listens to the language of hormones and responds in kind, carrying out instructions that ripple through tissues, organs, and entire systems in perfect harmony. The surface of a cell may appear smooth beneath a microscope, but in truth, it is alive with communication. Embedded within its membrane are thousands of receptor proteins, each one poised to sense specific hormones, neurotransmitters, and other molecular cues. These receptors act as sentinels, waiting for the right signal to arrive. When a hormone binds to its receptor, the event is delicate, like a key sliding into its lock. Nothing in the cell changes by accident. It changes only because this precise contact has occurred. From that moment onward, a cascade of reactions begins, as if the cell itself were awakening to the presence of a whisper at its door. For many hormones, especially those composed of peptides or proteins, the cell membrane serves as both a barrier and a stage. These hormones cannot cross the lipid layer that surrounds the cell, so their receptors remain on the surface. When binding takes place, the receptor changes shape ever so slightly, setting off a chain of events on the inside. This small shift is the first step in signal transduction, a process that can amplify a single interaction into a sweeping cellular response. The hormone itself does not need to enter. It merely triggers the machinery within, allowing the cell to interpret and act upon its message. Inside the cell, this message is carried forward by what scientists call second messengers. These molecules, smaller and more mobile than hormones, move swiftly through the cell's interior, spreading the signal far and wide. One of the best known is cyclic adenosine monophosphate, or cyclic AMP, often abbreviated as CAMP. When activated by a hormone receptor interaction, an enzyme called adenylate cyclase produces CAMP from ATP, the cell's universal energy molecule. CAMP then activates a cascade of other enzymes, each one igniting the next, in a sequence that magnifies the original signal many times over. Through this elegant amplification, a single molecule of hormone can influence thousands of cellular reactions, ensuring that even the faintest message is heard clearly. Other second messengers, such as calcium ions, inositol triphosphate, and diacylglycerol, play similar roles in different pathways. Calcium, for instance, acts as a versatile messenger that controls muscle contraction, secretion, and even aspects of memory formation in nerve cells. Within the cytoplasm, calcium levels are usually kept very low, but when a signal arrives, channels open, and calcium floods in from storage compartments. The sudden rise acts like a spark, igniting a sequence of biochemical reactions that translate the external signal into precise cellular activity. Once the response is complete, calcium is pumped back into storage, restoring calm and readiness for the next signal. Each cell interprets hormonal signals according to its own identity and function. A molecule of adrenaline circulating in the blood may cause the heart to beat faster, while in the liver it prompts the release of glucose, and in fat cells it triggers the breakdown of stored energy. These varied responses arise because each cell contains a different set of enzymes and second messenger systems. The hormone's message remains the same, but its meaning changes depending on who receives it. In this way, the body achieves extraordinary complexity from a limited vocabulary, allowing a handful of hormones to orchestrate countless physiological processes simultaneously. Some hormones, particularly the steroid and thyroid types, do not rely on surface receptors at all. Instead, they pass directly through the cell membrane, drawn inward by their lipid-soluble nature. Inside the cytoplasm or nucleus, they find their specific receptors waiting. When the two bind, they form a complex that attaches to regions of DNA, influencing which genes are turned on or off. This form of signal transduction is slower but more enduring than the second messenger pathways. It alters the very fabric of the cell's function, guiding long-term processes such as growth, differentiation, and metabolism. A single molecule of cortisol, for example, may change the production of proteins that regulate immune responses or energy use, shaping the body's state for hours or even days. The process of signal transduction is not merely mechanical, it is rhythmic and coordinated, unfolding with an almost musical grace. Receptors must be activated, enzymes must catalyze, and secondary messengers must rise and fall in careful sequence. If any part of the process misfires, the message becomes distorted or lost. To prevent this, cells have built-in systems of regulation. Receptors may become temporarily unresponsive after continuous stimulation, a phenomenon known as desensitization. Enzymes may deactivate second messengers to ensure that signals fade when no longer needed. These safeguards protect the cell from overstimulation, preserving its sensitivity to new messages. In some ways, the cell can be imagined as a tiny self-governing world, constantly balancing excitation and rest. When a hormone arrives, it brings a command: release energy, divide, repair, or calm. The cell responds with precision, then quiets itself once the task is complete. This balance between activation and silence mirrors the larger harmony of the body itself, a rhythm of stimulation and recovery, of action followed by repose. Even at this microscopic level, the principle of homeostasis holds true. Within the endless intricacy of signal transduction lies an astonishing truth. The same molecular mechanisms that govern simple chemical reactions also give rise to consciousness, motion, and emotion. Each thought, each sensation, depends on the way cells translate signals into responses. When you feel a rush of excitement, when your heartbeat quickens, when calm washes over you after stress, these sensations begin as molecular interactions between hormones and receptors. The whisper of a single molecule can alter the state of an entire organism, proving that life's grandest experiences are written in the quiet language of chemistry. Over time, the efficiency of these signaling systems can change. During youth, cells respond swiftly to hormonal cues, allowing rapid growth and repair. As the body ages, receptors may become fewer or less sensitive, altering the dialogue between hormones and cells. This gradual shift contributes to changes in metabolism, energy, and mood that accompany the passing years. Yet even in later life, the fundamental rhythm endures. The cell still listens and responds, maintaining the same intricate conversation that began before birth and continues until life's final breath. Signal transduction is, at its heart, a form of listening. The cell waits in silence until a message arrives, then answers in action. The process is subtle, precise, and unending. Without it, the body would lose its ability to adapt to speed its heartbeat, to calm inflammation, to heal wounds, to grow. Through this delicate exchange, the cell becomes aware of the world beyond its membrane and contributes to the unity of the organism as a whole. Millions of hormones find their receptors at this very moment, each one essential, each one fleeting. From their harmony comes the constancy of your heartbeat, the steadiness of your temperature, the quiet strength of your metabolism. The body does not shout its instructions, it whispers them, again and again, cell to cell, moment to moment. In the stillness of the body's inner world, there is no noise, no confusion, only balance. The hormone's voice is received, understood, and carried out with devotion, and when its work is done, the system resets, ready to hear again. This is the whisper within the cell, the soundless pulse of communication that sustains every heartbeat, every breath, every gentle rhythm of life. Through it, the body listens to itself and remains whole, guided by chemistry, shaped by harmony, and forever at peace within its own design. 7. The hypothalamus and pituitary, the conductors of the mental endocrine symphony. Deep within the shelter of the brain lies a region so small that it could rest upon the tip of a finger, and yet it holds sway over nearly every process within the human body. This is the hypothalamus, a structure of exquisite precision and sensitivity. Nestled just above the pituitary gland, it acts as the meeting place between the mind and the body, translating thought and emotion into physical form. It listens constantly to the quiet fluctuations of the internal world, the warmth of the blood, the level of nutrients, the presence of stress, and responds not with words, but with chemistry. Through its subtle adjustments, the hypothalamus guides the pituitary, and together they form the central duet of the endocrine system, the conductors of life's ongoing symphony. The relationship between these two glands is one of intimate communication. The hypothalamus gathers information from the entire nervous system, interpreting signals from the body and the environment alike. It detects hunger and thirst, the rise of stress, the onset of fatigue, and even the time of day. In response, it releases small regulatory hormones that travel the short distance to the pituitary gland. These hormones do not act upon distant organs themselves. Instead, they serve as instructions, telling the pituitary which of its own hormones to release and in what quantity. The pituitary then sends its messages outward through the bloodstream, guiding other glands, the thyroid, adrenals, gonads, and beyond, to act in concert. The result is a perfectly balanced orchestration, where each part of the endocrine system plays its note in time with the rest. The hypothalamus may be small, but its reach is vast. It contains specialized clusters of neurons, each responsible for sensing and controlling different aspects of the body's internal state. Some monitor the concentration of salts in the blood, prompting thirst and the release of antidiuretic hormone to conserve water. Others track the body's temperature, adjusting metabolic rate or directing the widening and narrowing of blood vessels to maintain balance. Still others sense blood glucose levels, influencing hunger and satiety. These functions occur automatically, without conscious awareness, ensuring that the body remains in equilibrium regardless of changes in the outside world. Directly beneath the hypothalamus sits the pituitary gland, suspended by a slender stalk known as the infundibulum. Despite its modest size, no larger than a pea, the pituitary is often called the master gland because its hormones regulate so many others. It is divided into two distinct parts, the anterior pituitary and the posterior pituitary, each with its own functions and methods of control. The anterior pituitary receives chemical signals from the hypothalamus through a specialized network of tiny blood vessels called the hypophyseal portal system. Inhibiting hormones dictate which anterior hormones will be secreted. The posterior pituitary, on the other hand, is directly connected to the hypothalamus by nerve fibers and stores the hormones oxytocin and vasopressin, which are produced by neurons in the hypothalamus and released into the bloodstream when needed. When the hypothalamus senses that the body requires more energy, it releases thyrotropin-releasing hormone, prompting the anterior pituitary to secrete thyroid-stimulating hormone. This, in turn, activates the thyroid gland to produce thyroxine, increasing metabolism and generating warmth. In times of stress, the hypothalamus releases corticotropin-releasing hormone, signaling the pituitary to produce adrenocorticotropic hormone. This hormone travels to the adrenal glands, triggering the release of cortisol, the body's main stress hormone. When cortisol levels rise sufficiently, perfect example of the feedback loops that maintain hormonal harmony. The pituitary also governs growth and reproduction. Growth hormone, one of its most important secretions, stimulates cell division, bone lengthening, and tissue repair. Its effects are most prominent during childhood and adolescence, yet it continues to play a role throughout life, aiding in recovery and renewal. The pituitary also produces follicle-stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone, both essential for reproductive function. In females, these hormones regulate the ovarian cycle, guiding the maturation of eggs and the production of estrogen and progesterone. In males, they stimulate sperm production and the release of testosterone. Through these intricate pathways, the hypothalamus and pituitary ensure that the reproductive system remains synchronized with the body's overall state of health and energy. Beyond these well-known hormones lies prolactin, another creation of the pituitary. Production in nursing mothers, linking the hormonal rhythms of the mother's body with the needs of her child. Oxytocin, stored and released by the posterior pituitary, complements prolactin's role by promoting the milk ejection reflex during feeding. Yet oxytocin's influence extends far beyond this physical function. Often referred to as the bonding hormone, it enhances feelings of trust, closeness, and emotional connection. It acts both on the body and the mind, illustrating the seamless bridge between physiology and emotion that the hypothalamic pituitary system maintains. The hypothalamus and pituitary do not act as isolated rulers. Rather, they serve as translators between the nervous system's electrical impulses and the endocrine system's chemical signals. The hypothalamus receives information about external conditions through the senses and the higher brain regions. When danger is perceived, it can instantly trigger hormonal changes that prepare the body for action. When safety returns, it restores calm. These responses are so fast and finely tuned that they often occur before conscious thought can intervene. In this way, the hypothalamus acts as the mind's first responder, turning perception into physiology with seamless grace. The rhythm of these glands is not constant, but cyclical. Hormones rise and fall in daily, monthly, and seasonal patterns. Cortisol peaks in the early morning, preparing the body to wake, while melatonin, influenced by signals from the hypothalamus, reaches its height at night, guiding sleep. In women, the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis follows a monthly rhythm, orchestrating the cycle of fertility and renewal. Even the changing seasons can alter the hypothalamus's output, subtly shifting mood and energy in response to light and temperature. These variations remind us that the endocrine system, though internal, remains in quiet dialogue with the external world. The harmony between the hypothalamus and pituitary also depends on feedback, a continual conversation in which each listens to the other. If thyroid hormones rise too high, they signal the hypothalamus and pituitary to slow their stimulation. If cortisol drops too low, they increase their activity. This system of checks and balances prevents extremes, ensuring that every adjustment leads back toward equilibrium. It is a form of wisdom built into the body, one that allows adaptation without chaos. In moments of stillness, when the body rests and breathes in peace, this system continues its careful work. The hypothalamus measures the warmth of the blood and adjusts it by fractions of a degree. It maintains hydration, regulates appetite, and balances emotion through subtle chemical cues. The pituitary responds faithfully, releasing or restraining its hormones with perfect timing. The cooperation between these two glands exemplifies the unity of mind and body, the brain guiding the organs, and the organs, in turn, sustaining the brain. Together, they maintain the serenity of internal order. It is remarkable to consider that so much of what we feel and experience begins in this tiny region beneath the brain. The flush of warmth, the calm of rest, the pulse of alertness at dawn all emerge from the signals passing between the hypothalamus and pituitary. Even moods and emotional states are shaped by this pair of conductors. When the hypothalamus senses distress, it releases signals that heighten vigilance. When it senses comfort, it releases others that encourage relaxation. Through their endless coordination, these glands not only keep the body alive, but infuse it with the rhythms of living itself. Tension and release, wakefulness and sleep, movement and stillness. The hypothalamus and pituitary together embody a principle that runs throughout nature: balance through communication. Neither acts alone, and neither dominates. Their dialogue is continuous and reciprocal, a model of cooperation. Rather than command, they respond to the body as a whole, adjusting to its needs in real time. Theirs is a language of precision, spoken in hormones, carried in blood, and understood by every cell. As night falls and the body drifts toward rest, the hypothalamus dims its stimulatory signals, allowing melatonin to rise. The pituitary slows the release of certain hormones, conserving energy for repair and renewal. The blood flows calmly through the quiet corridors of the brain, carrying these messages onward. Within that silence, the great symphony of the endocrine system continues, unseen, unfelt, but constant. The hypothalamus listens. The pituitary responds. Together they keep the rhythm of life in perfect time. ensuring that even in sleep, the body remains whole, balanced, and at peace. 8. Major hormonal pathways: growth, stress, and reproduction. The human body, in all its quiet perfection, depends on the gentle guidance of a few central hormonal pathways. These pathways are like long, winding rivers, each beginning at its own source and flowing through tissues, organs, and systems before merging again in balance and harmony. Among them, 3 stand out for their influence on the rhythm of life: the pathways that govern growth, the response to stress, and the forces of reproduction. Together, they shape the body's development, sustain its survival, and ensure the continuation of life itself. Thanks for watching. Each one moves in steady, patient cycles, whispering through the bloodstream, adjusting the body's inner world to meet the outer one. The story of growth begins in the tiny, pulsing heart of the endocrine network, the pituitary gland. Within it lies the ability to shape the body's physical form, to guide the stretching of bones and the expansion of cells. Growth hormone, often known as somatotropin, is the central messenger of this process. It is secreted in small bursts, especially during sleep, when the body is most still and the mind at rest. In children and adolescents, its influence is obvious. It drives the lengthening of bones, the building of muscle, and the maturation of organs. Yet even in adulthood, its presence endures. Growth hormone continues to guide the renewal of tissues, the repair of cells, and the balance of metabolism. It speaks not only of growing up, but of continual restoration. The mechanism of growth hormone's action is both delicate and vast. When released into the bloodstream, it travels to the liver, where it stimulates the production of insulin-like growth factors, often abbreviated as IGFs. These molecules, in turn, carry the message of growth to bones, muscles, and connective tissues. They encourage cells to divide, to build, to strengthen. The effect is not rushed. It unfolds slowly, layer upon layer, shaping the body over months and years. At the same time, growth hormone influences how the body uses its stores of energy. It promotes the use of fats for fuel, sparing glucose for vital organs like the brain. In this way, growth hormone serves as both architect and caretaker, constructing the body's form while ensuring that its energy is wisely spent. The rhythm of growth hormone secretion is guided by the hypothalamus, which releases growth hormone-releasing hormone to signal the pituitary and somatostatin to restrain it when balance is achieved. This alternating pattern of release and inhibition creates a natural pulse, a wave-like flow that prevents excess while sustaining renewal. During deep sleep, when the body rests in its most restorative state, the largest surges of growth hormone occur. It is then that tissues heal, bones strengthen, and the invisible work of maintenance continues. The process embodies the principle of life itself: rest leading to repair, stillness giving rise to strength. While growth speaks of creation and renewal, another pathway speaks of adaptation and survival: the stress response. Stress, though often thought of as a burden, is in truth a vital process that allows life to endure change. The body must constantly adjust to shifting environments, threats, and challenges. The stress response is the means by which it does so, orchestrated through a pathway known as the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or HPA axis. This pathway is both protective and precise, designed not to alarm, but to prepare. When the hypothalamus perceives stress, whether from physical strain, emotional tension, or even subtle environmental changes, it releases corticotropin-releasing hormone. This signal travels to the pituitary gland, which responds by secreting adrenocorticotropic hormone into the bloodstream. The message reaches the adrenal glands, perched above the kidneys, prompting them to release cortisol, the principal stress hormone. Cortisol acts on nearly every cell of the body, mobilizing energy and sharpening awareness. It tells the liver to release glucose, ensuring that the muscles and brain have fuel. It guides the immune system to shift its focus, quieting inflammation while the body's attention turns to the task at hand. Cortisol helps the body stay steady during prolonged challenges, maintaining energy and focus. Once the threat passes, rising cortisol levels signal the hypothalamus and pituitary to slow their activity, allowing the system to return to calm. The entire process is a loop, an elegant cycle of activation and resolution. Too much cortisol for too long can disrupt the body's harmony, but in its proper measure, it is essential. Without it, the body would lack resilience. It would not awaken to danger, rise to challenge, or recover from strain. The adrenal glands also produce adrenaline and noradrenaline, hormones that act swiftly during moments of immediate stress. They quicken the heart, raise blood pressure, and sharpen the senses, preparing the body for action. The combination of these quick and sustained responses allows the body to adapt to both the sudden and the enduring. When peace returns, the parasympathetic nervous system and the hormonal balance restore calm, like waves subsiding after a storm. The mind quiets, the heart slows, and the inner world returns to its tranquil rhythm. In the same way that growth ensures the continuation of the individual and stress ensures survival, the reproductive pathways ensure the continuation of the species. These pathways are intricate networks of timing, chemistry, and emotion, connecting body and mind in profound ways. In both men and women, the sequence begins in the hypothalamus with the release of gonadotropin-releasing hormone. This pulse-like signal prompts the pituitary to secrete two vital hormones, luteinizing hormone and follicle-stimulating hormone. Together, these hormones govern the reproductive organs, ensuring the proper rhythm of fertility and renewal. In the ovaries, follicle-stimulating hormone encourages the growth and maturation of eggs within their follicles. As one egg approaches readiness, the surrounding cells produce increasing amounts of estrogen. This hormone shapes not only the physical preparation for ovulation, but also influences mood, energy, and emotion. When estrogen reaches its peak, the pituitary releases a surge of luteinizing hormone, triggering ovulation, the release of the mature egg. Afterward, the follicle transforms into a structure called the corpus luteum, which secretes progesterone, a hormone that prepares the uterine lining for potential pregnancy. If no conception occurs, progesterone levels fall, and the cycle begins anew. The pattern continues with quiet reliability, echoing the lunar rhythms that have guided life since its beginning. In men, the same luteinizing and follicle-stimulating hormones act upon the testes. Luteinizing hormone stimulates cells to produce testosterone, the primary male sex hormone, while follicle-stimulating hormone supports the development of sperm. Testosterone influences not only fertility but also muscle strength, energy, and emotional tone. It provides vitality and drive, yet even this potent hormone functions best in balance, its levels rising and falling in harmony with the body's needs. Beyond the physical, the hormones of reproduction play subtle roles in emotion and connection. Estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone all influence mood, motivation, and social behavior. Oxytocin, released during intimacy and bonding, strengthens emotional ties, building trust and affection. These chemical exchanges reveal that reproduction is not merely mechanical. It is deeply entwined with the experience of love, care, and companionship. The hormonal pathways of life do not serve survival alone. They weave meaning into existence. Each of these great pathways of growth, of stress, and of reproduction operates through feedback, ensuring that the body never drifts too far from equilibrium. When growth has achieved its aim, somatostatin quiets the signal. When stress has passed, Cortisol completes its own loop of regulation. When reproductive hormones reach their peak, inhibitory signals bring rest and renewal. Through these constant adjustments, the endocrine system ensures that every surge is followed by calm, every awakening by rest. It is the eternal rhythm of balance, the principle that life's strength lies not in constancy, but in the gentle alternation between movement and stillness. As you rest, this entire system continues its work without effort. Growth hormone pulses softly through your blood, repairing tissues as you sleep. Cortisol levels fall, signaling that the day's trials are done. The hormones of reproduction, too, follow their quiet cycle, preparing for renewal. Within you, 1,000 signals flow in perfect coordination, each one aware of its place within the greater harmony. The body is never still, yet never chaotic. Its many pathways flow together like rivers, converging into an endless sea growth, ensuring vitality, stress, maintaining resilience, and reproduction, preserving continuity. They whisper in silence, and though unseen, their harmony endures, carrying within it the wisdom of balance, the same wisdom that has sustained life for countless generations, moving quietly beneath every breath, every heartbeat, every moment of peace. 9. Hormones and homeostasis. Within the silent corridors of the body, there exists an ancient pursuit of balance, a steady, unending effort to keep every organ, every cell, and every heartbeat in perfect proportion. This harmony is known as homeostasis, a word that speaks of stillness in motion, of constancy amid change. It is the foundation of all life, the quiet equilibrium that allows the body to endure the fluctuations of the outside world. And, at the center of this enduring stability lies the work of hormones, the body's unseen architects of balance. The air cools and warms, hunger rises and fades, light turns to darkness and back again. The body must respond to each of these shifts, adjusting itself so that the inner environment remains stable. The blood must keep its temperature within a narrow range. The level of sugar must neither fall too low nor climb too high. The amount of water and salt must remain in harmony. To achieve this, the endocrine system acts as a conductor, guiding the body's organs through subtle and continuous adjustments. It does not react with urgency or panic. It moves slowly and wisely, maintaining calm, even as the world moves unpredictably beyond the skin. At the heart of homeostasis lies the principle of feedback, the body's quiet way of listening to itself. Each gland monitors the results of its own actions, sensing when to continue and when to pause. When a hormone has done its work, its very success signals its own restraint. This process, known as negative feedback, prevents excess and preserves harmony. It is a self-correcting loop, a conversation between stimulus and response that never truly ends. The thyroid, for example, releases hormones that regulate metabolism. As their levels rise, they send a message back to the hypothalamus and pituitary to slow their signals, allowing the system to rest. When those levels drop, the silence is broken, and the conversation begins again. Consider the delicate control of body temperature. The hypothalamus serves as the body's thermostat, sensing even the smallest fluctuations in warmth. When the temperature rises, it directs blood vessels to expand and sweat glands to release moisture, cooling the skin. When the temperature falls, it signals muscles to shiver and the thyroid to increase metabolic heat production. In both directions, hormones play their part. Thyroid hormones quicken the pace of metabolism, while adrenaline can raise heat through its stimulation of energy use. The process is automatic, rhythmic, and beautifully precise. The body never allows extremes to last for long. It drifts gently back to center, again and again. Water balance offers another glimpse into the elegance of hormonal control. The body is composed largely of water, yet even a small shift in its concentration can disturb every cell. To prevent this, the hypothalamus monitors the concentration of solutes in the blood, When levels become too high, signaling dehydration, it prompts the release of antidiuretic hormone, or ADH, from the posterior pituitary. This hormone tells the kidneys to reabsorb more water, returning it to the bloodstream instead of releasing it as urine. At the same time, the hypothalamus triggers the sensation of thirst, urging the individual to drink. Once hydration is restored, ADH secretion diminishes, and the balance resets. Through this simple cycle, the body maintains the fluid foundation upon which all life depends. The balance of salts and minerals, particularly sodium and potassium, is equally vital. Here, the adrenal glands play their quiet role through the secretion of aldosterone, a hormone that directs the kidneys to conserve sodium and excrete potassium. By doing so, it also influences the volume of water in the body, since water follows salt. If blood pressure falls or fluid levels decrease, aldosterone production rises, tightening the system and preserving circulation. When balance returns, the signal fades. The precision of this control ensures that the blood remains not only abundant but also stable in its composition, supporting the steady rhythm of the heart. Glucose, the body's primary fuel, is another measure of homeostasis that depends entirely on hormonal cooperation. After a meal, glucose levels rise in the bloodstream. In response, the pancreas releases insulin, which guides glucose into cells to be stored or used for energy. As the blood sugar falls, insulin release diminishes. When fasting or exertion causes glucose to drop too low, another hormone, glucagon, is secreted by the pancreas. This back and forth exchange between insulin and glucagon is constant, a dance of two opposing forces that together maintain the perfect middle ground. Through them, the body remains fueled, but never overwhelmed. Calcium, though often associated only with bones, is another element whose stability is essential. Every nerve impulse, every muscle contraction, depends on precise calcium levels in the blood. Too much or too little, and the system falters. The parathyroid glands, 4 tiny structures behind the thyroid, monitor this mineral with exquisite sensitivity. When calcium levels drop, they release parathyroid hormone, which draws calcium from bone stores, increases absorption from the intestines, and reduces its loss through the kidneys. When calcium rises again, the glands grow quiet. This continual adjustment allows both the skeleton and the soft tissues to share in perfect harmony, preserving strength without sacrificing function. Beneath all these cycles runs the rhythm of energy, the balance between creation and use, between rest and exertion. Thyroid hormones are central to this regulation. When released, they increase the rate at which cells convert nutrients into energy, warming the body and quickening its pace. When withheld, the body enters a state of conservation, slowing its metabolism to preserve fuel. This subtle modulation ensures survival through both abundance and scarcity. The body knows how to thrive in fullness and how to endure in restraint, guided always by the same principle of inner steadiness. The maintenance of homeostasis is not limited to physical chemistry. It extends to emotion and thought. Hormones such as cortisol, adrenaline, serotonin, and oxytocin influence not only the body's organs but the tone of the mind itself. During stress, cortisol heightens alertness, preparing the individual to act. When the challenge has passed, oxytocin and endorphins soothe the system, bringing calm and connection. Even mood swings, fatigue, and peace are reflections of the endocrine system's delicate adjustments. The mind and body are never separate in this work. They are threads of the same fabric, woven together by the same chemical design. Homeostasis is not a fixed state, but a living balance, a process of constant correction. It is like the steady rocking of a boat that never tips, no matter how the waters move beneath it. The body does not seek absolute stillness, for stillness would mean death. Instead, it seeks motion and balance, a dynamic stability that allows flexibility without collapse. Hormones are the tools of this art, guiding every shift back toward equilibrium. When heat rises, they cool. When cold spreads, they warm. When stress overwhelms, they soothe. They are the guardians of the middle path, the voice of moderation within the body's restless world. As night descends, this internal balance continues its work, unbroken by sleep. The body temperature falls slightly, guided by the hypothalamus. Cortisol declines, releasing tension. Melatonin rises, signaling rest. Even as consciousness drifts away, the endocrine system remains awake, maintaining its ceaseless vigil. It measures, corrects, and renews. The balance that sustains life does not depend on awareness. It is older, deeper, written into every cell. In the silence of sleep, the work of homeostasis becomes even more profound. Growth hormone repairs tissues, restoring the structure that the day's wear has worn thin. Insulin sensitivity adjusts, preparing the body for the coming dawn. The blood flows in steady rhythm, its composition perfect in proportion. Every molecule seems to know its place, guided by the unseen intelligence of hormonal balance. The result is harmony not achieved through force or will, but through endless, patient adjustment. In essence, hormones are the quiet caretakers of the body's stability. They sense and respond, correct and renew. They are the voice of reason in the body's language, ensuring that no reaction is too strong, no deviation too long. Through them, the body learns to remain centered, even in the face of chaos. Homeostasis is not a single state, but a song, a slow, continuous melody of regulation that plays from birth until death. As you breathe and rest, this melody continues within you. Every drop of blood carries the echo of these messages. Small adjustments, soft corrections, unending harmony. The world outside may change in its rhythms, but within you, the balance holds steady, maintained by the faithful guidance of your hormones. In their work, there is wisdom, the wisdom of stillness within motion, of peace within adaptation. This is the heart of life itself, the perpetual equilibrium that keeps the body whole and the spirit at ease. 10. Hormones and emotions. The human experience, with all its quiet joys and unspoken sorrows, is shaped as much by chemistry as by thought. Beneath every feeling, beneath every moment of peace or passion, there flows an invisible tide of hormones, carrying signals between the body and the mind. These chemical messengers do not simply regulate organs or maintain balance. They sculpt emotion, color perception, and weave the delicate patterns of our inner life. To understand hormones is to understand that emotions are not fleeting abstractions but living responses, grounded in the same biology that keeps the heart beating and the lungs rising and falling in rhythm. Every emotion, from serenity to fear, from affection to despair, has a physical echo. When joy warms the chest, when anxiety tightens the stomach, when love softens the body into ease, hormones are at work. They travel through the bloodstream as quiet translators between the mind's intangible thoughts and the body's tangible responses. They tell the heart when to race, the muscles when to relax, the skin when to flush. They shape how we interpret the world, not only through logic but through feeling. It is through them that thought becomes experience. At the center of this connection lies the brain, particularly the hypothalamus, which bridges the emotional centers of the mind and the endocrine system. When a thought or memory stirs emotion, it sends a signal downward through this ancient channel. The hypothalamus responds by releasing hormones that speak to the pituitary and, through it, to the rest of the body. The cascade that follows can alter heartbeat, breathing, metabolism, and awareness. Thus, a single moment of emotion, the comfort of affection, the tension of fear becomes a whole body experience. Emotion is not confined to the mind. It is lived in every cell. Among the many hormones that shape emotion, cortisol and adrenaline are the most immediate. They are the heralds of alertness, preparing the body for action whenever danger or uncertainty arises. When the mind perceives threat, real or imagined, the hypothalamus signals the adrenal glands to release these hormones. Adrenaline quickens the heart and sharpens focus. Though modern life may no longer require us to flee from predators, the body still responds to emotional stress in the same ancient way. Yet these hormones are not enemies. They are protectors. In moderation, cortisol and adrenaline grant clarity and resilience. They help us rise to challenges, think sharply, and move with strength. It is only when they linger too long that the balance tips toward restlessness or exhaustion. After each surge, the body seeks calm again, a return guided by other hormones whose purpose is to restore peace. Among these, oxytocin and endorphins play a special role. Oxytocin, produced in the hypothalamus and released by the posterior pituitary, has been called the hormone of trust and connection. It surges in moments of affection during touch, eye contact, or the gentle comfort of companionship. It softens the stress response, lowering blood pressure and easing the heart's rhythm. It encourages empathy, creating a sense of safety and belonging. In the mother feeding her child, in the embrace between friends, or the closeness shared between partners, oxytocin is at work, knitting bonds that sustain emotional well-being. Endorphins, on the other hand, bring calm through relief. They are the body's natural painkillers, molecules that bind to receptors in the brain and dull discomfort while inducing a sense of tranquility. Released during laughter, exercise, or even gentle breathing, they produce the subtle warmth that follows a deep sigh or the serenity that comes after movement. In these moments, endorphins remind the body that peace can be found within itself. They balance the excitement of adrenaline with the comfort of contentment. Dopamine and serotonin, two neurotransmitters that also act as hormones, govern mood and motivation. Dopamine is the spark of pleasure and anticipation, the sense of reward that follows effort and accomplishment. It rises when goals are achieved, when beauty is encountered, or when connection is found. Serotonin, by contrast, offers steadiness, a sense of satisfaction and well-being that endures quietly. Balanced levels of serotonin bring calm and resilience, while imbalances can lead to anxiety or depression. Together, dopamine and serotonin shape how we experience the world, one drawing us forward, the other holding us steady. The delicate relationship between these chemicals creates the foundation of emotional balance. Too much adrenaline and excitement becomes anxiety. Too little serotonin, and calm turns to sadness. Excess dopamine may lead to restlessness or obsession, while its absence can dull joy. The endocrine system, in its patient wisdom, works constantly to adjust these levels, drawing the mind back toward equilibrium. The dance of these molecules forms the rhythm of human feeling, the rise and fall of happiness, the ebb and flow of comfort and concern, the quiet return to peace after every storm of emotion. Even the cycles of life, childhood, adolescence, maturity, and aging bring their own hormonal seasons of emotion. During youth, surges of sex hormones such as estrogen and testosterone awaken new feelings and intensify perception. The world seems brighter, desires stronger, dreams larger. In adulthood, as hormones settle into rhythm, emotion deepens, becoming steadier and more reflective. Later in life, as hormone levels shift again, feelings often grow softer, quieter, filled with acceptance. Through every stage, hormones shape not only the body's form, but the texture of its inner world. The connection between hormones and emotion is not merely biological, it is poetic. When the heart races in love, it is not only a metaphor. Adrenaline and dopamine truly quicken the pulse, sending warmth through the skin. When tears fall in sadness, cortisol and prolactin play their subtle roles, allowing the body to release its tension. When laughter breaks through the heaviness of a day, endorphins flood the brain, washing away pain. These are the body's ways of feeling, each chemical a phrase in the language of emotion. What makes this language so profound is its unity. The same hormones that govern the mechanics of survival also shape the experience of being alive. The molecules that regulate blood flow and energy also create compassion, fear, joy, and love. This continuity between physical and emotional life reveals a truth often forgotten, that mind and body are not separate realms but reflections of one another. The heart feels what the brain imagines. The brain interprets what the body senses. Hormones serve as the bridge between the two, ensuring that thought and feeling are always intertwined. When balance is maintained, this system moves with remarkable grace. The stress that once tensed the body gives way to calm as oxytocin and serotonin rise. The drive of dopamine is tempered by the serenity of endorphins. Each chemical complements the other, ensuring that no feeling lasts beyond its purpose. The result is emotional homeostasis, a gentle rhythm of experience that allows us to live fully without losing our peace. And yet, emotion is not meant to be constant calm. Joy, sadness, excitement, rest, love, and solitude all have their place in the balance. Hormones make this movement possible. The surge that awakens, the sigh that soothes. Through their cycles, we learn to adapt, to endure, and to find meaning. Emotion, guided by chemistry, becomes not chaos but art, the natural poetry of living biology. In the stillness of night, when thought quiets and the breath slows, this emotional chemistry continues its quiet work. Cortisol diminishes, endorphins linger, serotonin steadies the mind. The body, wrapped in calm, restores the harmony that the day's emotions have stirred. In dreams, the mind reweaves its experiences, guided still by the same molecular currents. When morning arrives, a new balance awaits, a readiness to feel, to live, to begin again. Hormones and emotions are inseparable, partners in the timeless rhythm of existence. They shape every heartbeat of joy, every moment of sorrow, and every calm breath between them. They remind us that feeling is not weakness but wisdom, the body's way of knowing itself, of adapting to the world, of finding meaning in the flow of time. To feel deeply is to live fully, and to live fully is to listen to the whispers of the body's own chemistry, the gentle, ceaseless song of hormones guiding us toward balance, connection, and peace. 11. Circadian rhythms and the hormonal clock. Within every living being, there exists a quiet clock, a pulse of time that ticks not in seconds or minutes, but in gentle cycles of light and darkness. This clock, known as the circadian rhythm, governs much of life's internal flow. It is an ancient rhythm, older than humanity, older even than the first rising of land from the sea. It beats in plants that turn toward the sun, in animals that rest at dusk, and in the heart of every human being who wakes and sleeps in the daily turning of the earth. At the center of this rhythm lies a delicate interplay of hormones, silently synchronizing the body with the world beyond the skin. From the moment light touches the eyes in the morning, the internal clock begins its work. Within the brain, just above the crossing of the optic nerves, sits a small cluster of neurons, known as the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the master timekeeper of the human body. This structure, housed within the hypothalamus, receives signals directly from the eyes. When daylight enters, it informs the brain that morning has arrived, setting in motion a cascade of hormonal changes designed to awaken and energize. As darkness falls, the absence of light sends a different message, guiding the body into rest and renewal. These alternating signals create the pattern that defines each day: wakefulness, activity, restoration, and sleep. Hormones are the body's instruments for translating time into physiology. At dawn, one of the first to rise is cortisol, the hormone of awakening. Produced by the adrenal glands, cortisol increases alertness, boosts metabolism, and prepares the body for movement. It is not a force of stress in this context, but of renewal, a natural surge that tells the body to open its eyes, quicken its pulse, and greet the light. Around the same time, other hormones such as adrenaline and norepinephrine follow suit, gently increasing energy and sharpening focus. This morning symphony lifts the body from the stillness of night into the vitality of day. As the day progresses, cortisol gradually declines, allowing the body to move into a state of balance. The mid-morning hours bring steadiness. The mind is alert, the muscles strong, the senses in harmony. In the background, insulin and glucagon maintain the flow of energy, adjusting the use of glucose to match the rhythm of activity and rest. The thyroid hormones sustain metabolism, keeping warmth and motion in balance. Even the digestive system dances to this rhythm, appetite rising and falling with the sun. Guided by hormones such as ghrelin and leptin, the entire body moves like an orchestra following the same unspoken tempo. Light signals the suprachiasmatic nucleus to slow the body's pace. Cortisol falls to its lowest levels, heart rate softens, and body temperature drops slightly. In the pineal gland, melatonin begins to rise, the hormone of darkness and sleep. Its production is triggered by the absence of light, and it drifts into the bloodstream as night deepens, preparing the body for rest. The eyelids grow heavy, the thoughts quiet, and the pulse of wakefulness gives way to stillness. Melatonin does not force sleep, it invites it, whispering to the body that it is safe to surrender to the night. Sleep itself is one of the most remarkable expressions of hormonal harmony. It is not a passive state, but a carefully coordinated cycle of repair and renewal. As melatonin guides the body into slumber, other hormones begin their nocturnal work. Growth hormone, secreted by the pituitary gland, reaches its peak during the deepest stages of sleep. It stimulates cell repair, tissue regeneration, and the time renewal of muscles and bones. This nightly release is why rest is restorative, not merely a pause in activity, but an act of healing. At the same time, prolactin and leptin increase, supporting immune function and regulating energy balance. The body, far from being idle, uses the night to restore what the day has spent. Meanwhile, insulin sensitivity shifts, and blood sugar levels lower slightly, allowing the body to conserve resources. The heart rate slows, the breathing deepens, and the brain begins its nightly cleansing, a process by which waste products from cellular activity are washed away. These rhythms are not random. They are synchronized to the hormonal clock, ensuring that every system rests when it should and awakens refreshed. Even dreams, mysterious and vivid, occur within this biochemical rhythm, guided by the alternating flow of neurotransmitters and hormones that shape the phases of sleep. As dawn approaches, melatonin fades, its work complete. Morning triggers the hypothalamus once more, silencing the pineal gland's nocturnal signal. Cortisol begins its gradual ascent again, preparing the body to return to wakefulness. This daily cycle of melatonin's rise and fall, of cortisol's gentle wave, repeats endlessly, aligning the inner world with the outer. It is a dialogue between the body and the cosmos. Even those who dwell far from sunlight, in dim rooms or artificial brightness, disruptions to this natural cycle can create a kind of internal dissonance. When sleep is delayed or light is encountered late at night, melatonin's timing may falter, and the body loses its sense of night and day. The result is not merely fatigue, but a deeper confusion, the feeling of being awake when the world is asleep, or restless when it is time to rest. Jet lag, shift, work, or excessive exposure to screens can all interfere with this subtle harmony, pulling the hormonal orchestra out of tune. Yet, like any living rhythm, it can be restored. Gentle routines, regular exposure to morning light, and the quiet embrace of darkness at night help the body find its tempo again. The circadian rhythm extends beyond sleep and wakefulness. It influences nearly every aspect of health. Hormones that regulate appetite, metabolism, and immunity all follow daily cycles. Ghrelin, the hormone of hunger, peaks before meals, while leptin, the hormone of fullness, rises during sleep, reminding the body to rest from eating. Insulin sensitivity is higher during the day, guiding the body to use nutrients efficiently when energy is needed most. Even the immune system strengthens its defenses at night, releasing cytokines that support repair and protection. This coordination ensures that every process, digestion, energy use, restoration, occurs at the time most beneficial to life's rhythm. Beyond the circadian rhythm of day and night lies a slower cycle, the infradian rhythm. In women, for instance, reproductive hormones rise and fall through a monthly pattern that influences mood, energy, and sensitivity. This too is guided by the same internal clock, adjusted to longer intervals. Men experience subtler variations in testosterone through daily and seasonal rhythms. All these cycles, from hours to months, are expressions of the same universal pattern, the body's endless dialogue with time. The beauty of these rhythms lies in their constancy. They require no effort, no thought, no conscious control. Even when the mind grows restless or life becomes uncertain, the body continues its quiet observance of time. It knows when to wake, when to eat, when to rest, and when to repair. This knowing is not learned. It is written into our cells, carried in the turning of our DNA, a reflection of the planet's own rotation. As night descends and you drift towards sleep, this ancient clock begins its evening song. Melatonin rises like a dark tide, the heartbeat slows, and the body prepares for renewal. Beyond awareness, the hormones of repair awaken, tending to the small wounds and wear of the day. Each breath deepens into calm, and the cycles continue, faithful and unbroken. The harmony between you and the world returns, measured not by minutes, but by the soft alternation of light and shadow. When morning comes, and the light once again touches your skin, this cycle begins anew. Cortisol stirs your energy, thyroid hormones warm your metabolism, and the rhythm of life reawakens. The circadian clock, patient and eternal, has kept its promise through the night, the promise of balance, of restoration, of continuity. You rise not only because you have slept, the dark, bringing you back into the light once more. 12. Feedback loops, the wisdom of regulation. Beneath the calm surface of the body's internal world lies a design of remarkable intelligence, a system that listens, adjusts, and maintains harmony without ever resting. This system is built upon the principle of feedback, a cycle of cause and correction that keeps the body balanced through every moment of life. Feedback loops are the quiet regulators of the endocrine system, the wisdom through which hormones learn when to speak and when to fall silent. They prevent excess, restore equilibrium, and guide the body's chemistry with a precision so natural that it often goes unnoticed. Without them, the body's gentle order would dissolve into chaos. With them, life continues in effortless rhythm, steady as the tide and constant as breath. The concept of feedback is simple yet profound. Every hormone released into the bloodstream carries with it the seeds of its own regulation. Once it has performed its task and produced its effect, it sends a signal directly or indirectly back to the glands that created it, instructing them to slow or stop production. This is known as negative feedback, and it forms the foundation of hormonal control. Like a conversation that ends in understanding, negative feedback ensures that every message has its answer. The body never shouts when a whisper will do. It never floods its systems when a drop is enough. Through this continuous exchange, the body maintains its inner balance, a state known as homeostasis. One of the clearest examples of this wisdom can be found in the regulation of the thyroid gland. The hypothalamus, ever watchful, releases thyrotropin-releasing hormone, which travels a short distance to the pituitary gland. The pituitary responds by secreting thyroid-stimulating hormone, a messenger that tells the thyroid to release its own hormones, thyroxine and triiodothyronine. These thyroid hormones then enter the bloodstream, influencing metabolism throughout the body. As their concentration rises, they drift back to the hypothalamus and pituitary, signaling that enough has been released. The original stimulus fades, and the glands rest. When levels begin to drop again, the cycle starts anew. This loop repeats endlessly, a conversation between three participants that ensures energy is neither hoarded nor wasted. In the stress response, for instance, the hypothalamus releases corticotropin-releasing hormone to activate the pituitary, which in turn sends adrenocorticotropic hormone to the adrenal glands. The adrenals respond by producing cortisol, preparing the body for alertness and endurance. When cortisol levels rise sufficiently, they send a message back to both the hypothalamus and the pituitary to reduce their output. The system slows, returning the body to calm. It is a cycle of tension and resolution, designed not for endless vigilance but for timely balance. When this loop functions well, stress becomes a passing wave, rising when needed and receding when peace returns. These feedback systems do not operate in isolation. They intertwine in networks of remarkable complexity. Each gland listens not only to its own signals but to the broader chorus of the body's needs. During times of growth, for example, the hypothalamus modulates its release of growth hormone-releasing hormone, which prompts the pituitary to produce growth hormone. As tissues expand and repair, the resulting changes in metabolism send subtle messages back to the brain, refining the signal. In reproduction, similar loops coordinate the ebb and flow of estrogen, progesterone, and luteinizing hormone, ensuring that each phase of the cycle occurs in perfect order. Everywhere in the body, feedback serves as both compass and conductor, guiding the rhythm of life with quiet wisdom. Occasionally, the balance of feedback can be disturbed, revealing just how vital these loops are. If a gland becomes overactive and ignores the signals to slow down, hormone levels may rise too high, leading to restlessness or exhaustion. If the feedback is too strong, production may cease prematurely. The symptoms that follow fatigue, weight changes, shifts in mood are reminders that equilibrium is fragile. Given time, rest, and proper nourishment, the loops often restore themselves, as if the system remembers its own harmony. It is a self-healing design, always seeking its natural point of balance. While negative feedback is the most common pattern, there is also another, rarer form known as positive feedback. Unlike its counterpart, positive feedback amplifies change rather than correcting it. It is used sparingly in the body, for it carries great power. The most well-known example occurs during childbirth. As labor begins, the hormone oxytocin is released, stimulating contractions of the uterus. Each contraction sends signals back to the brain, prompting even more oxytocin to be released. The process continues, each wave of activity building upon the last until the child is born. Then, the loop ends abruptly, returning to quiet. This momentary amplification shows that sometimes, for transformation to occur, balance must give way to motion. Positive feedback allows the body to pass through pivotal moments of change, birth, ovulation, and sometimes even emotional connection before returning to equilibrium. Feedback loops are not only mechanisms of regulation, but also reflections of the body's intelligence. They embody the principle that stability does not mean stillness, but responsiveness. The body does not hold one fixed state. It moves continually around a center, adjusting its chemistry in response to countless internal and external signals. The temperature of the air, the rhythm of the heart, the presence of light, even the memory of a thought all can influence hormonal flow. The endocrine system listens to each of these cues and answers with precision, ensuring that the whole organism remains in harmony. This wisdom of regulation extends into the emotional and mental realms as well. The same cortisol that rises in stress also feeds back to calm the brain when the challenge has passed. The oxytocin released in moments of love and trust encourages further connection, yet it too recedes when safety and satisfaction are achieved. These cycles mirror the natural rhythm of life: effort and rest, expansion and contraction, intensity and peace. The endocrine system teaches, in its own silent way, that balance is not a single point but a living rhythm, a dance between opposites that sustains the beauty of being alive. If one could observe these loops in motion, they would resemble waves flowing through an endless sea, rising and falling in seamless succession. The hypothalamus and pituitary send their signals like the tide moving toward the shore. The glands respond, and the feedback returns like the retreating surf. Each cycle leaves the body renewed, adjusted, and ready for the next. The harmony is quiet but constant, a testament to the body's deep intelligence. Even in sleep, these feedback loops continue their work. As darkness deepens, melatonin levels rise, signaling the approach of rest. Cortisol diminishes, metabolism slows, and growth hormone surges to repair the body. When dawn arrives, the feedback of light reverses the pattern, stirring wakefulness once again. Day after day, the system keeps time with the rotation of the planet, linking the chemistry of the body to the rhythm of the cosmos. There is a profound serenity in this design, a reminder that control does not require force, and balance does not demand perfection. The body regulates itself through listening, not commanding. Each gland hears the whispers of others, responding only as much as needed, then yielding when its work is done. Through this gentle cooperation, the endocrine system maintains the miracle of life in continuous motion. As you rest and breathe, these feedback loops are at work within you. Hormones rise and fall, signals flow and return. Adjustments are made in silence. The body listens, answers, and listens again. There is no noise, no haste, only the steady rhythm of regulation, the wisdom that holds you in balance. It is the same wisdom that governs the oceans, the weather, and the stars. A law of harmony woven into the very fabric of existence. And within that harmony, life continues calm, aware, and perfectly poised between change and constancy. 13. Hormonal changes across life. From the moment of conception to the quiet twilight of age, the human body is guided by the gentle rise and fall of hormones. These unseen messengers accompany every stage of existence, shaping not only the body's form but its emotions, thoughts, and inner rhythms. The story of life is, in many ways, the story of hormonal change. A long and graceful arc that begins in the stillness of the womb, rises into the vibrant pulse of youth, steadies in adulthood, and softens into the calm wisdom of age. Each phase brings its own unique balance, each transition its own quiet transformation. Through it all, hormones whisper their instructions, keeping the body in harmony with time itself. Life begins as a delicate symphony of hormonal cues. Within the mother's womb, human chorionic gonadotropin, known simply as HCG, is one of the first to appear, a signal that sustains pregnancy and ensures the embryo's survival. Estrogen and progesterone, rising steadily, create a safe environment for the developing life, nurturing the placenta and calming the uterine muscles. These maternal hormones pass through the shared bloodstream, shaping not only the child's physical growth but also the timing of its organs, its bones, and even the early wiring of its brain. Within this sheltered world of chemistry and warmth, the body takes its first form, and the foundation for all future hormonal rhythms is quietly laid. At birth, the infant enters a new realm of independence. The gentle balance once provided by the mother's body must now be created from within. The newborn's endocrine system awakens, releasing its own cortisol to adapt to the sudden brightness and coolness of the outside world. Adrenaline surges for the first time, filling the lungs with air and quickening the heartbeat. Growth hormone begins its lifelong rhythm, guiding cell division and tissue repair. The thyroid, newly active, adjusts the baby's temperature and metabolism. Every system, from digestion to immunity, receives its first independent instruction from hormones. Even feeding, resting, and bonding are shaped by them. Insulin and leptin, guiding hunger and satiety, oxytocin and prolactin deepening the bond between mother and child. Childhood unfolds under the gentle direction of growth hormones and thyroid hormones. During these years, the body builds its foundation, bones lengthen, muscles strengthen, and the brain blossoms with new connections. The endocrine system remains quiet in other respects, allowing growth to proceed without the disruptions of adult hormonal cycles. The pituitary releases growth hormone in pulses, most strongly during sleep, allowing each night's rest to become a time of renewal. Meanwhile, the adrenal glands secrete small amounts of androgens, preparing the body for the transformations that lie ahead. These years are marked by stability, a season of calm before the surge of change. As adolescence approaches, a great awakening occurs within the endocrine system. The hypothalamus begins to release gonadotropin-releasing hormone in rhythmic pulses, stirring the pituitary into new activity. In boys, this signal prompts the production of testosterone in the testes. In girls, it stimulates the ovaries to produce estrogen and progesterone. These hormones mark the beginning of puberty, the time when the body takes on its adult form and the emotions deepen into new complexity. For boys, testosterone fuels the growth of muscle, the deepening of the voice, and the development of facial hair. It strengthens bones and broadens shoulders, signaling that the body has reached maturity. It also influences the mind, fostering confidence, curiosity, and the drive for independence. In girls, estrogen and progesterone sculpt a different but equally intricate transformation. The body softens in its contours, the hips widen, and the first menstrual cycles begin. Estrogen brings growth to the reproductive organs and also enhances brain development, influencing emotion, memory, and empathy. Progesterone, gentle and balancing, prepares the body for the cycles of fertility that will continue for decades to come. Adolescence is not only a time of physical change, but of emotional turbulence. The surging hormones of this period heighten sensitivity, awaken new desires, and amplify the perception of the world. Cortisol and adrenaline fluctuate more readily, contributing to the intensity of teenage moods. Yet within this storm lies growth not only of the body, but of identity. The endocrine system, learning its patterns, begins to settle into rhythm. What once felt overwhelming slowly becomes balanced, preparing the individual for the stability of adulthood. When the body reaches maturity, a new equilibrium emerges. The hormones of growth, reproduction, and metabolism find their steady cadence. In men, testosterone levels stabilize, maintaining strength, vitality, and focus. In women, estrogen and progesterone guide the monthly cycle with gentle precision, ensuring that the reproductive system remains in balance. The thyroid regulates energy. Insulin and glucagon keep the flow of glucose steady. Even stress hormones like cortisol follow predictable patterns, rising in the morning to awaken the body and falling at night to allow rest. This phase of life, the long span of adulthood, is one of harmony, where the endocrine system maintains the quiet consistency upon which work, love, and creativity depend. Within adulthood, hormonal cycles continue to weave their subtle influence over emotion and well-being. Estrogen enhances mood and cognitive clarity, while testosterone supports motivation and confidence. Oxytocin deepens human bonds, rising with acts of trust, affection, and empathy. During times of stress, cortisol and adrenaline step forward, allowing focus and endurance. But as balance returns, serotonin and endorphins restore calm. Through all of this, feedback loops maintain the same exquisite control, ensuring that every rise is matched by a fall, every intensity by its quiet resolution. Eventually, the body begins to move toward another great transition, the gradual quieting of the reproductive hormones. In women, this passage is called menopause, a natural stage when the ovaries release fewer eggs and the production of estrogen and progesterone diminishes. The cycles of menstruation come to an end, and the body enters a new phase of balance. Though this change can bring moments of discomfort, warmth, restlessness, or shifting mood, it is also an awakening of another kind. Freed from the rhythmic demands of reproduction, the body settles into a different steadiness, guided now by other hormones such as adrenal and thyroid messengers. Many women describe a sense of renewed clarity and calm during this stage, a return to equilibrium after decades of cyclical change. In men, the corresponding shift is more gradual. Testosterone levels decline slowly, year by year, leading to subtle changes in energy, sleep, and strength. Yet the process is not a loss, but a refinement, the tempering of vitality into patience, the transformation of intensity into depth. Growth hormone, 2, decreases with age, and metabolism slows, encouraging the body toward gentler rhythms. The endocrine system, though quieter, continues its work of preservation. It turns its attention to repair, to maintaining the heart, bones, and mind in harmony. In later years, the hormonal landscape softens even further. Cortisol rhythms may flatten slightly, melatonin may rise earlier in the evening, and insulin sensitivity may wane. The body's internal clock shifts toward simplicity. Sleep becomes lighter, hunger gentler, emotions calmer. Yet through all these changes, the wisdom of the feedback loops endures. The body remains self-correcting, adjusting each hormone in response to the others. Even as production slows, the coordination remains flawless. The endocrine system does not weaken. It adapts, finding balance within a new range. By this stage, hormones no longer shape growth or reproduction. They sustain continuity. They keep the heart steady, the mind focused, the immune system alert. They maintain the body's delicate chemistry with the same care as in youth, though the pace has slowed to match the quiet rhythm of age. The hormonal patterns that once surged like rivers now flow like gentle streams, calm but purposeful, and within that calm lies a profound serenity, the peace of a system that has learned itself, that has traveled through every season of life and arrived at wisdom. From the first pulse of growth hormone in the embryo to the final breath of calm in old age, hormones accompany us as silent companions. They teach the body how to adapt, how to feel, how to rest, and how to endure. They are the language through which life speaks to itself, the unbroken conversation that keeps every cell in harmony with time. Even in stillness, their work continues, reminding us that change is not the loss of balance, but its expression. Each stage of life, guided by hormones, carries its own beauty, a unique rhythm in the long, graceful melody of being alive. It breathes, listens. Every ray of sunlight, every breath of cool air, every sound of rain carries information that the body receives and interprets, not through conscious effort, but through the ancient wisdom of its biology. Hormones are the mediators of this dialogue between self and surroundings, the translators that turn light into wakefulness, temperature into comfort, and the passage of seasons into the quiet choreography of metabolism and emotion. The endocrine system, far from being sealed within the body, is in constant conversation with the environment, adapting in perfect synchrony with the changing world. From the first light of morning to the last shimmer of twilight, hormones move in rhythm with the natural cycles of the day. The arrival of dawn sends its signal through the eyes to the people hypothalamus, where the suprachiasmatic nucleus keeps time for the entire body. This small cluster of neurons, no larger than a grain of rice, serves as the conductor of the circadian orchestra. When sunlight touches the retina, it halts the secretion of melatonin from the pineal gland and awakens the flow of cortisol from the adrenal glands. These two hormones, one of rest, the other of alertness, form a partnership that mirrors the alternation of night and day. As cortisol rises, energy stirs. As melatonin fades, clarity returns. Through this daily cycle, the body remains tethered to the rotation of the earth. Each dawn, a gentle reminder that the inner and outer worlds are one. Light, perhaps the most potent environmental cue, has guided hormonal patterns since life began. Long before artificial illumination, the body evolved to rest in darkness and awaken with the sun. Exposure to bright light during the day strengthens this rhythm, while light at night confuses it. When the eyes perceive brightness after sunset, the pineal gland delays the release of melatonin, and the body's sense of time drifts. The modern glow of screens and lamps extends wakefulness beyond its natural hour, altering the balance that nature intended. Yet the solution is as simple as it is timeless. The body finds peace when it encounters natural light by day and darkness by night. Morning light, even for a few moments, reaffirms the body's alignment with the world outside, gently reminding the endocrine system where it stands in the turning cycle of time. Temperature, too, holds sway over hormonal balance. The hypothalamus monitors the warmth of the blood with exquisite sensitivity, adjusting metabolism, circulation, and sweat to maintain equilibrium. In cooler weather, thyroid hormones rise slightly, quickening metabolism to produce heat. In warmer seasons, their levels fall, conserving energy and reducing internal warmth. These adjustments happen without conscious thought, aligning the body's chemistry with the climate's quiet variations. When the air grows cold, cortisol may rise subtly to mobilize energy, while melatonin deepens sleep to promote restoration. When the air turns warm and bright, serotonin levels increase, lifting mood and motivation. Even the changing seasons shape the endocrine landscape. The tilt of the earth alters the length of daylight, and with it, the production of key hormones. During the bright months of summer, melatonin secretion shortens, and the body leans toward activity, movement, and growth. Serotonin levels rise, enhancing mood and alertness. Cortisol peaks earlier in the morning, encouraging early wakefulness. In winter, as daylight fades and nights grow long, melatonin's influence deepens. Sleep becomes heavier, energy softens, and the body conserves its warmth. Some people feel this shift as a quiet melancholy, a reminder of the profound link between light and emotion. Yet even this turning inward has purpose. It allows rest, introspection, and recovery before the returning light of spring. The endocrine system, attuned to these patterns, ensures that life moves not in a straight line but in graceful cycles of expansion and retreat. Beyond light and temperature, countless environmental elements touch the hormonal balance in subtle ways. The scent of rain can calm the nervous system, lowering cortisol and slowing the heart. The rhythm of ocean waves or the rustle of leaves can induce alpha brain waves, promoting the release of serotonin and endorphins. Natural sounds, gentle motion, and clean air work together to reduce the biochemical markers of stress, restoring balance to the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. The body recognizes the language of the natural world, responding with relaxation when it senses harmony and safety. Modern environments, filled with constant noise and artificial light, often challenge this balance. Yet even brief moments in nature, a walk beneath trees, the warmth of sunlight on the skin can reset hormonal rhythms, as if the body remembers what it was always meant to feel. Food and nourishment represent another profound link between the environment and hormonal harmony. Every meal is both sustenance and signal. The nutrients absorbed into the bloodstream influence the release of insulin, leptin, and ghrelin, the hormones that govern hunger, fullness, and energy use. A diet rich in natural foods, consumed in regular rhythm, allows these hormones to act with precision. Irregular meals or processed foods can disrupt the dialogue, confusing the body's sense of hunger and satisfaction. Even the time of eating matters. The body's clock expects nourishment in the light of day. Late meals can delay melatonin's rise and disturb sleep. Thus, by aligning eating patterns with daylight, one honors not only digestion, but the hormonal tides that sustain well-being. Water, too, has its quiet influence. Hydration supports the balance of antidiuretic hormone, which controls the retention of fluid. A well-hydrated body maintains clearer circulation, steadier blood pressure, and smoother temperature control. The very act of drinking water signals safety to the body, reducing cortisol and allowing parasympathetic calm to return. These small acts, eating with awareness, drinking with intention, resting with rhythm, form a dialogue between the individual and the world, spoken entirely through hormones. Environmental toxins, though silent and invisible, certain chemicals found in plastics, pesticides, or pollutants can mimic or block the body's own hormones, interfering with communication between cells. These substances, often called endocrine disruptors, confuse the body's feedback loops, leading to subtle imbalances over time. Yet even here, the body shows resilience through the work of the liver and kidneys, through renewal during sleep, and through the natural rhythm of cell repair. The endocrine system continually cleanses and restores itself. Reducing exposure and embracing natural surroundings allows the body's intelligence to flourish once more, untangled from artificial interference. There is also the influence of social and emotional environments. The company we keep, the voices we hear, the kindness or tension in our surroundings, all are interpreted through hormones. Oxytocin rises in trust and affection. Cortisol rises in conflict and fear. A calm, nurturing environment promotes balance at every level, from heart rate to immune strength. Laughter, music, and compassion are not abstract comforts. They are chemical nourishment, soothing the endocrine system as surely as sunlight or food. In this sense, the environment is not only physical but emotional. The body listens to everything. To live in harmony with the environment, then, is to honor these connections, to align one's habits with the natural rhythms that the body already understands. Morning light, moderate movement, calm evenings, gentle darkness at night, these are not luxuries, but the conditions in which hormones can perform their timeless work. The endocrine system is a reflection of the world's own order, responsive, cyclical, and balanced. It thrives when life follows the patterns of nature rather than resisting them. As night falls, the body feels the cooling air and the dimming light. Melatonin begins its rise, signaling rest. The rhythm of cortisol fades, surrendering to calm. Outside, the world grows quiet, and within, the hormones of restoration awaken. The body and the environment move together in one continuous breath, their boundaries dissolving. You are not separate from the air that moves or the sun that fades. Your chemistry answers to them, shaped by their rhythm, guided by their pulse. In this communion between self and nature, the endocrine system finds its perfect balance. Life becomes not a battle against the world, but a harmony with it, a steady exchange between body and earth, carried in silence by the flowing messengers of the blood. 15. The interplay between hormones and the nervous system. The human body is an intricate duet between two great systems, the nervous, and the endocrine. One moves with the speed of lightning, sending its messages through electric impulses along branching nerves. The other travels with the unhurried flow of blood, carrying its chemical messengers in slow, deliberate rhythm. Together, they form a partnership so seamless that their boundaries blur. This union of electricity and chemistry, of thought and molecule, is what allows the body to think, feel, adapt, and survive. Without the nervous system, the world would be sensed but never understood. Without hormones, thought would be disconnected from the living matter that sustains it. In their union lies the harmony of mind and body, a conversation that has been unfolding quietly since the beginning of life. The relationship between these two systems begins in the brain, where neurons and endocrine cells share a constant dialogue. The hypothalamus, a small structure deep within the brain, serves as their meeting ground. It is both a neural hub and an endocrine organ, capable of translating electrical signals from the nervous system into chemical messages that travel through the bloodstream. When the mind perceives change, whether the rising of the sun, the presence of danger, or the calm of safety, the hypothalamus turns perception into physiology. Through its control of the pituitary gland, it dictates the flow of hormones that govern metabolism, growth, reproduction, and stress. Every thought, every emotion passes through this gateway, ensuring that what the mind experiences is mirrored within the body. Imagine a moment of sudden fear. The eyes see a shadow, the ears hear a sound, and within a heartbeat, the nervous system reacts. Electrical impulses travel from the sensory organs to the amygdala, the brain's center for emotional recognition. The amygdala signals the hypothalamus, which in turn activates the sympathetic nervous system, the network responsible for the body's fight or flight response. Within seconds, the adrenal medulla, governed by neural impulses, releases adrenaline and noradrenaline into the bloodstream. The heart quickens, the airways widen, and glucose floods into the blood, readying the muscles for action. This entire cascade unfolds before conscious thought can form, showing how closely the nervous system and hormones work together to ensure survival. When the moment passes, the parasympathetic nervous system takes over. The hypothalamus then activates a different endocrine pathway, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, to produce cortisol, a slower but longer-lasting hormone that helps the body recover and replenish energy reserves. Once cortisol levels rise sufficiently, they signal back to the brain to reduce further release, completing the feedback loop. What began as a flicker of light and sound ends as a symphony of nerves and hormones, each system echoing the other in perfect coordination. The communication, however, flows both ways. Just as the brain directs hormonal release, hormones also influence the brain's own activity. Many hormones can cross the blood-brain barrier or act upon receptors within the central nervous system. Estrogen, for example, enhances neural growth and strengthens connections between brain regions involved in memory and emotion. Testosterone sharpens focus and motivation, while thyroid hormones sustain mental clarity and alertness. Cortisol, in moderate amounts, enhances memory and quick thinking, though in excess, it can lead to fatigue and emotional strain. Even insulin, often seen as a purely metabolic hormone, influences brain energy use and appetite regulation. The nervous and endocrine systems are not separate realms, but two expressions of a single intelligence, one speaking in electricity, the other in chemistry, both fluent in the language of life. This partnership extends beyond moments of survival and into the quiet routines of daily existence. The nervous system continuously monitors the body's internal state through sensory neurons that detect temperature, blood pressure, and nutrient levels. It relays this information to the hypothalamus, which in turn adjusts hormone secretion to restore balance. If the blood becomes too warm, the nervous system signals the hypothalamus to reduce thyroid activity and promote cooling. If glucose drops too low, it prompts the release of glucagon to restore fuel. Each action by the endocrine system is guided by the awareness of the nervous system, and each hormonal adjustment influences neural tone and mood in return. The emotional landscape, too, is shaped by this interplay. Feelings of peace, joy, or love arise from both neural patterns and hormonal flows. The gentle warmth of affection is accompanied by oxytocin released from the hypothalamus, reinforcing the neural circuits of trust. The calm that follows laughter comes from endorphins, hormones that bind to neural receptors to quiet pain and elevate mood. When grief or stress darkens the mind, serotonin and dopamine levels shift, altering the tone of neural communication. Every emotion felt in the mind is reflected in the chemistry of the body, and every chemical shift in turn colors thought and perception. The nervous and endocrine systems are, in truth, one great organ of feeling, sensing both the world outside and the world within. This deep interconnection is perhaps most evident in the influence of the nervous system on reproduction. The pituitary gland, controlled by neural inputs from the hypothalamus, releases luteinizing and TACE, follicle-stimulating hormones that guide fertility. Yet emotion, stress, and environment can alter these signals. The brain, sensing anxiety or fatigue, may delay ovulation or reduce sperm production, conserving energy for survival. Similarly, feelings of safety and affection can promote reproductive readiness through oxytocin and dopamine, linking love and biology in an inseparable embrace. The act of nurturing, whether of a child or a partner, strengthens neural circuits of care that are reinforced by hormonal surges. Thus, the cycle of life itself depends upon the harmony between thought and chemistry, between nerve and gland. Even memory and learning are shaped by hormonal influences. Adrenaline enhances the imprinting of vivid experiences, ensuring that moments of importance are not easily forgotten. Cortisol, in balance, helps the brain retain essential information while releasing unnecessary details. Estrogen and testosterone modulate synaptic plasticity, influencing how new knowledge is absorbed and recalled. Growth factors, guided by hormones, support the regeneration of neurons, keeping the brain flexible and adaptive. In this way, hormones not only maintain the body but also shape the mind's ability to remember, to learn, and to evolve. Sleep provides another glimpse into this partnership. As the nervous system descends into its nightly rhythm, melatonin begins to rise, calming neural activity and guiding the transition from wakefulness to rest. During deep sleep, growth hormone surges, repairing tissues and replenishing energy. Cortisol falls to its lowest point, allowing the nervous system to restore its balance. When morning comes, the nervous system awakens first, sensing light through the eyes and sending signals to suppress melatonin. The endocrine system follows, raising cortisol and thyroid hormones to prepare for movement and alertness. Even in slumber, their cooperation never ceases. They turn the cycle of sleep and waking into a seamless duet of restoration. Over the course of life, the relationship between hormones and the nervous system changes in tone, but never in essence. In youth, high levels of growth hormone, sex hormones, and adrenaline make the mind sharp and the emotions intense. In adulthood, the dialogue becomes steadier. In age, as hormones gradually decline, the nervous system shifts toward gentler rhythms, valuing serenity over speed, yet the connection between the two never fades. The mind continues to influence the body, and the body, through its chemistry, continues to shape the mind's mood and memory. Their harmony is not dependent on age but on balance, the balance of communication, of listening and response. This unity of systems reveals something profound. The boundary between thought and matter is an illusion. Every idea, every heartbeat, every sigh arises from the same living current that flows between neuron and hormone. The nervous system perceives and directs, The endocrine system sustains and transforms. Together they make the human being whole, a creature of feeling and awareness, of chemistry and consciousness intertwined. Even now, as you rest and breathe, this partnership continues its quiet conversation. Neurons fire softly, carrying signals of calm. Hormones drift through the bloodstream, shaping each cell's response. The brain listens to the body replies to the brain. It is an endless exchange, a perfect equilibrium between action and rest, between thought and sensation. In this harmony lies the mystery of life, the whispering dialogue between impulse and molecule that gives rise to every heartbeat, every dream, and every moment of peace. 16. The endocrine system and adaptation, resilience through change. To live is to change, and to endure is to adapt. The body, with its intricate network of organs and signals, is built not for rigidity, but for resilience. Within its soft tissues and flowing blood lies an unspoken intelligence, the capacity to adjust. At the heart of this capacity stands the endocrine system, the body's great mediator of adaptation. Through its quiet orchestration of hormones, it ensures that the body can meet life's shifting demands with grace, flexibility, and continuity. Whether in moments of stress or stillness, scarcity or abundance, warmth or cold, the endocrine system tunes the body's chemistry to sustain equilibrium. It is the voice of endurance whispered through the bloodstream. The ability to adapt begins in the smallest moments, the instant when the body senses that something has changed. The nervous system perceives it first, the faint drop in temperature, the quickening of the heart. But it is the endocrine system that transforms these sensations into lasting responses. When food becomes scarce, hormones adjust, metabolism to conserve energy. When the air grows cold, thyroid hormones increase heat production. When stress arises, cortisol and adrenaline prepare the body for endurance. Each of these adjustments is subtle, calculated, and temporary, designed not to resist change, but to move with it. Adaptation is not simply a reaction to difficulty, it is the ongoing art of staying balanced in motion. Consider how the body responds to physical exertion. At the beginning of exercise, adrenaline and noradrenaline surge, increasing blood flow to the muscles and quickening the heart. The adrenal cortex follows with cortisol, ensuring that stored energy is released as needed. Growth hormone rises to aid in tissue repair, while endorphins soothe discomfort, replacing strain with calm satisfaction. When the activity ends, the parasympathetic nervous system restores the heartbeat to rest, and insulin helps replenish energy stores. Through this cycle, the endocrine system learns it remembers the demand placed upon it and adapts for the future, strengthening the body's capacity for endurance. The same principle applies to emotional stress. When life presents uncertainty or loss, the hypothalamus senses imbalance and signals the adrenal glands to release cortisol. This hormone, in moderation, sharpens awareness, improves concentration, and provides energy to cope. But if stress continues without resolution, cortisol's effects can become burdensome, suppressing immunity, interrupting sleep, and clouding mood. Yet even here, the endocrine system strives for balance. The release of oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins counteracts tension, inviting connection and rest. In moments of comfort or compassion, cortisol falls and calm returns. This dynamic interplay reveals that resilience is not about avoiding stress, but about moving fluidly through it, responding, adjusting, and returning to peace. Adaptation is also guided by cycles of time daily, seasonal, and lifelong. The circadian rhythm, governed by cortisol and melatonin, helps the body adapt to light and darkness, ensuring energy when the sun rises and restoration when it sets. Over longer spans, the endocrine system responds to the turning of the seasons. In summer, melatonin wanes, and serotonin rises, aligning the body with longer days and greater activity. These cycles are not mere background processes but deep patterns of biological intelligence, connecting the human body to the Earth's changing face. They remind us that adaptation is not resistance to the environment but harmony with it. Every phase of life demands new forms of adaptation. In childhood, the endocrine system focuses on growth and learning. Growth hormone and thyroid hormones work tirelessly to build bones, muscles, and neural pathways. During adolescence, surges of sex hormones prepare the body for maturity and reproduction. In adulthood, the focus shifts to maintenance, the careful regulation of energy, fertility, and repair. As age advances, the system turns toward preservation, slowing metabolism and refining its responses to ensure longevity. At each stage, hormones reorganize their priorities, creating new patterns suited to the body's evolving needs. The process is seamless, guided by feedback loops that never cease listening to the rhythm of change. The thyroid gland plays a central role in this adaptability. It acts as a master regulator of metabolism, increasing or decreasing the body's energy output according to circumstance. In times of cold, thyroid hormones rise, warming the blood and keeping muscles supple. In heat, they decline, conserving energy and fluid. This ability to fine-tune metabolic pace allows humans to thrive in a vast range of climates. Similarly, the adrenal glands serve as sentinels of resilience, their hormones adjusting not only to immediate danger but also to long-term challenges. Whether the change is physical, emotional, or environmental, they provide the chemical tools for endurance. Adaptation also occurs at the level of reproduction and nurturing. During pregnancy, the endocrine system transforms to support new life. Estrogen and progesterone rise to prepare the womb and sustain the developing child, while prolactin and oxytocin shape the bonds of care that follow birth. The mother's body alters its metabolism, immune function, and even emotional landscape to ensure protection and nourishment. Afterward, the system gradually returns to its original balance, remembering both the strain and the strength of its transformation. This adaptability extends beyond motherhood. It is a reflection of the endocrine system's essence, to respond to change without losing harmony. At times, adaptation is tested by extremes, prolonged stress, illness, or emotional upheaval. The body's initial response may strain its resources, but the endocrine system's memory ensures that recovery follows. When cortisol has lingered too long, feedback mechanisms slow its release. When thyroid activity falters, other systems adjust to compensate. Even in illness, hormones work to preserve stability, insulin regulating energy use during fever, aldosterone maintaining fluid balance when appetite is lost. This constant recalibration reveals a profound truth. The body does not seek perfection, but equilibrium. It bends without breaking, learns without fear, and returns always to its center. Resilience also lives in the quieter aspects of daily life. The simple acts of sleep, nourishment, and connection all strengthen hormonal balance. During deep rest, growth hormone repairs tissues and replenishes energy. A nourishing meal prompts insulin and leptin to restore satisfaction and calm. Acts of kindness or touch release oxytocin, reinforcing trust and reducing cortisol. Through these small moments, the endocrine system fortifies itself, preparing for whatever changes the next day may bring. This gentle rhythm of action and restoration is the secret of endurance, a reminder that adaptability is built not in crisis, but in the quiet consistency of care. Emotionally, the endocrine system teaches the same lesson. Life's challenges are not meant to overwhelm, but to transform. Stress hormones rise to make us alert. Love hormones rise to help us heal, and both together create the full range of human experience. The body's chemistry though it may shift from calm to tension and back again, is always striving toward balance. Even the feeling of exhaustion after great effort is part of adaptation, the body signaling its need to rest and rebuild. When we honor this message with sleep, stillness, or peace, the hormonal tides return to calm, and strength quietly renews itself. At its deepest level, the endocrine system's adaptability mirrors the wisdom of life itself. Every living organism, from the smallest cell to the vast forests of the earth, survives through balance not by resisting change, but by moving with it. The hormones that circulate through the blood are expressions of this wisdom. They teach the body to yield, to endure, and to begin again. Their rhythm is the rhythm of life. Inhale and exhale, rise and fall, strain and recovery. To live in harmony with this rhythm is to understand that change is not an enemy, but the very essence of being alive. As you rest and breathe, your body is adapting, still adjusting its chemistry to the quiet of the moment. Cortisol falls, melatonin rises, and the heartbeat slows in recognition of peace. The hormones that once braced you for the day now prepare you for renewal. Beneath your awareness, the endocrine system continues its gentle work of balance, listening to every signal, answering with care. It does not fight the changing world. It flows with it, always returning to harmony. This is resilience, not the hard endurance of struggle, but the soft strength of balance, the wisdom to bend and not break. In this, the endocrine system reflects the calm intelligence of life itself, an eternal capacity to adapt, to restore, and to remain whole through every season of change. 17. Disorders of the endocrine system. When balance falters. For all its quiet perfection, the endocrine system is also fragile. The 17 repeat. The 17 system, endolensmen, the 17 system, is also fragile. It is built on equilibrium and intricate harmony maintained through endless feedback and adjustment. When that balance falters, even slightly, the consequences ripple through the body like a soft echo that grows into a storm. Hormonal disorders are not sudden invaders, but disruptions of this delicate rhythm. Small deviations in production or response that alter the body's inner conversation. Yet even when the balance is disturbed, the body continues its effort to restore peace. To understand these disorders is not to see the body as broken, but as a system, striving to heal itself when its own music slips out of tune. The essence of endocrine disorders lies in either excess or deficiency. Too much of one hormone or too little of another can shift the body's state in profound ways. Because hormones act in chains, one signal prompting another, a single imbalance can affect multiple organs. When the thyroid releases hormones beyond its proper measure, every cell quickens its pace. The heart beats faster, and the metabolism races ahead. When it slows, energy wanes, and warmth fades from the body. When the pancreas falters in its production of insulin, the body's relationship with glucose becomes uncertain, and the balance between nourishment and energy begins to strain. These are not isolated errors. They are variations within an orchestra that depends on every player keeping time. Thyroid disorders are among the most common expressions of this imbalance. The thyroid, a small, butterfly-shaped gland at the base of the neck, controls how quickly the body uses energy. When it becomes overactive, a condition known as hyperthyroidism, metabolism speeds beyond its steady rhythm. Weight may fall despite appetite, the heart may flutter, and restlessness may replace calm. The most frequent cause is an autoimmune condition called Graves' disease, where the body's own immune system mistakenly stimulates the thyroid as though urging it never to rest. In contrast, hypothyroidism, its slower counterpart, leaves the body in quiet fatigue. The skin cools, thought slows, and the once steady pulse grows soft and sluggish. Often, this too has an autoimmune cause, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, in which the immune system, in its confusion, dampens the thyroid's activity. In both cases, the body struggles to find its middle path. It governs the flow of glucose through the interplay of two hormones, insulin, which lowers blood sugar by guiding it into cells, and glucagon, which raises it by drawing it from stores. When insulin production falters, as in type 1 diabetes, glucose remains in the bloodstream, unable to enter the body's cells. Energy becomes abundant, yet unreachable, like water locked behind glass. In type 2 diabetes, insulin is present, but the cells no longer listen to its call, a resistance born of long-term strain on the body's energy systems. Both forms disrupt not only metabolism, but the entire hormonal web, influencing appetite, circulation, and even mood. Yet the body, even in illness, continues to seek correction, producing extra insulin, adjusting fat metabolism, and altering hunger hormones in its quiet attempt to restore balance. In the adrenal glands, disorder can bring extremes of energy and exhaustion. These small, triangular glands perched atop the kidneys produce cortisol, adrenaline. When they release too much cortisol, as in Cushing's syndrome, the body remains locked in a state of alertness, unable to relax. The face may round, the skin may thin, and the muscles may weaken under the weight of chronic tension. When they release too little, as in Addison's disease, fatigue deepens, blood pressure falls, and even minor stress can overwhelm the body's strength. In both conditions, the balance between readiness and rest, the very heart of adaptation, is disturbed. Yet the endocrine system never ceases its effort to compensate, drawing on other hormones and pathways to preserve what harmony it can. Sometimes, the pituitary gland, the conductor of the endocrine orchestra, becomes the source of disruption. A small tumor, though often benign, may press upon its cells and alter its rhythm of release. Too much growth hormone can lead to acromegaly, in which bones and tissues continue to grow after maturity. Too little, especially in youth, can slow growth and delay development. And fire, excess of prolactin, can interfere with fertility and the menstrual cycle, while a deficiency in pituitary function can quiet multiple hormonal axes at once. Each of these conditions reveals the pituitary's central role. When its signals waver, the entire symphony of hormones falters in response. The reproductive hormones, too, are vulnerable to imbalance. In women, fluctuations in estrogen and progesterone can influence not only fertility but mood, energy, and cognition. Polycystic ovary syndrome, or PCOS, arises when the ovaries produce excess androgens, leading to irregular cycles, changes in skin and hair, and resistance to insulin. Menopause, though natural, also marks a shift in hormonal balance. Estrogen and progesterone decline, altering bone strength, sleep, and emotional tone. In men, declining testosterone can bring fatigue, reduced muscle strength, and a quieter drive, a transition often misunderstood but deeply connected to the endocrine system's lifelong rhythm of adaptation. In all these changes, balance is never truly lost. It is redefined, the body finding new patterns suited to each stage of life. Even disorders of calcium and bone metabolism reflect the same principle. The parathyroid glands, small and often overlooked, regulate calcium through parathyroid hormone. When their signaling falters, bones may weaken or harden excessively, and the nervous system itself may quiver with imbalance. Yet even here, the body seeks its middle ground, drawing calcium from storage or returning it as needed. The bloodstream becomes a constant dialogue between bone and gland, loss and renewal, the same ancient rhythm of give and take that sustains all living systems. Hormonal disorders often express themselves not only through physical symptoms but through emotional ones as well. The same cortisol that drives energy can, when excessive, bring anxiety or sleeplessness. The same thyroid hormones that sustain vitality can, when low, cause melancholy or apathy. Because hormones influence both the body and the mind, imbalance touches every layer of experience. But the body is never passive in its response. It builds alternate routes, engages feedback loops, and waits for restoration. Even when modern medicine assists with replacement hormones, inhibitors, or surgery, the healing is still guided by the body's own intelligence, which knows how to listen to itself and find its way home. The remarkable aspect of the endocrine system is that it can recover from disruption. When balance is disturbed, the feedback loops that maintain homeostasis adjust their sensitivity, learning to operate in new conditions. Cells alter the number of receptors they display, fine-tuning their responsiveness. Enzymes shift their activity, and tissues adapt their needs. What appears as illness is often the body's process of adaptation, a conversation between error and correction. Treatment, at its most effective, works not by imposing change but by assisting this natural dialogue, helping the body find the still point around which its cycles revolve. In truth, the story of endocrine disorders is not one of failure, but of resilience. It is a reminder that balance, though delicate, is also dynamic. The body may wander from its ideal, but it never forgets the path back. With rest, care, nourishment, and support, it recalibrates itself again and again, guided by the quiet intelligence of its hormones. Each imbalance, each symptom, is part of that process, the body speaking, adjusting, evolving toward harmony once more. As you sit in stillness, the same intelligence is at work within you. Every breath, every heartbeat, is a testament to the body's constant striving for balance. Even when the rhythm wavers, even when the harmony feels lost, the endocrine system listens and corrects, its feedback loops looping endlessly toward peace. It is a design born of patience, an inner wisdom that knows how to heal, how to rest, and how to begin again. In this understanding lies comfort, that even when balance falters, it is never gone, only waiting, quietly, to return. 18. Healing, balance, and the future of endocrine science. Healing, in its truest form, is not the conquest of illness, but the restoration of balance. It is the body remembering its own harmony, the slow return to rhythm after disruption. In the world of the endocrine system, healing is never abrupt or forceful. It unfolds gently, as feedback loops reawaken, as glands learn once more to listen to the quiet signals that guide them. Hormones, those ancient messengers of life, move again in their proper cycles, carrying peace through the bloodstream. The process of endocrine healing reveals something profound. The body is not separate from its cure. It is the cure, built to restore itself when given time, nourishment, and understanding. The journey toward balance begins with awareness. Every hormone, every gland, communicates through the smallest of changes: a slightly faster pulse, a shift in mood, a subtle weariness that asks for rest. These signals are invitations, reminders that equilibrium requires attention. Healing begins when we pause to hear them. Today, modern science rediscovers this wisdom through careful observation of hormones and their rhythms. Blood tests, imaging, and molecular studies allow us to see what the body already knows, that healing is a return to steady communication between its countless parts. Medicine, in this sense, is both guide and companion to the body's natural intelligence. In the treatment of endocrine disorders, the goal is never to silence the body's systems, but to restore their dialogue. Hormone replacement, for instance, is not the imposition of control, but the reintroduction of missing signals, allowing feedback loops to resume their conversation. In hypothyroidism, the gentle return of thyroid hormone reawakens metabolism, warming the blood and clearing the mind. In diabetes, the administration of insulin completes the circuit between nourishment and energy once more. Each treatment works best not when it overwhelms the body, but when it joins its rhythm, harmonizing science and biology into one continuum of care. The future of endocrine medicine lies increasingly in personalization, in understanding that balance is unique to every individual. What may be harmony for one body may be excess or deficiency for another. Advances in genetics and molecular biology are revealing how each person's hormonal landscape is shaped by their DNA, their environment, and their experiences. Scientists are learning to read this language with growing fluency. Even now, researchers explore how stem cells might one day replace damaged endocrine tissues, how nanotechnology might deliver hormones precisely where they are needed, and how artificial intelligence may track the body's subtle shifts in real time. The goal is not to replace nature, but to work alongside it to restore the fluid adaptability that the endocrine system has always embodied. Yet, healing is not found only in laboratories or clinics. It also resides in the quiet rituals of daily life. The balance of hormones responds to the simplest acts: light in the morning, rest at night, the nourishment of wholesome food, the calm of breathing deeply. Each of these behaviors feeds the endocrine system's sense of rhythm. During its deepest stages, growth hormone repairs the body, cortisol declines, and melatonin soothes the brain. The morning light that follows suppresses melatonin and reawakens energy through the rise of cortisol. By medicine, but by the turning of the earth itself. To honor that rhythm is to participate in one of nature's oldest healing traditions. Nutrition, too, is a language of hormones. Every meal carries signals that influence the endocrine system's equilibrium. The presence of carbohydrates prompts insulin to guide energy into cells. Proteins stimulate glucagon to maintain stability. Fats modulate hormones of satiety and calm. Even the timing of meals shapes the body's chemistry. Eating in alignment with daylight strengthens the circadian pattern of metabolism, while overeating late at night can confuse the signals that govern rest. Healing, then, begins not only with medicine but with mindfulness, the recognition that the body's balance depends on how gently we live within its cycles. Movement, in its many forms, is another path to harmony. Physical activity triggers a cascade of hormonal responses that nourish both body and mind. Endorphins bring serenity, growth hormone rebuilds tissue, and adrenaline sharpens focus. The balance between stress and recovery, between exertion and stillness, mirrors the endocrine system's own rhythm. Too little motion leads to stagnation. Too much creates strain. But within the middle ground, where movement flows without urgency, the body finds renewal. The heart strengthens. Insulin becomes more efficient, and cortisol learns to rise and fall with precision. Each breath taken in motion is a quiet conversation between glands and muscles, reminding the body that it was made to move, to rest, and to repeat. Equally vital to healing is emotional balance. Hormones are not bound to the body alone. They are intertwined with thought, perception, and connection. The simple act of kindness can alter chemistry, lowering cortisol and raising oxytocin. Laughter releases endorphins. Affection stabilizes the nervous system and heart rate. The mind and endocrine system mirror each other. Peace in one brings peace to the other. For this reason, practices that calm the mind also heal the body. Meditation, slow breathing, time spent in nature, and moments of gratitude all regulate the same hormones that govern stress and immunity. In the stillness of such practices, the endocrine system recalibrates itself, finding again the tranquil rhythm it was designed to keep. The study of hormones continues to evolve, but its direction points toward unity, not the separation of systems, but their integration. Scientists now understand that the endocrine system works in harmony with the immune and nervous systems, forming a triad of communication that governs nearly every aspect of life. This understanding is leading to new therapies that support the body's natural dialogue rather than overriding it. Treatments that once sought to suppress or replace now aim to balance and support. The wisdom of the body, long known to ancient healers and newly confirmed by modern science, remains the same. Healing begins where harmony returns. Beyond medicine and research, the future of endocrine science invites a more holistic vision, one that recognizes that balance is not purely biological, but environmental and emotional as well. Clean air, natural light, nutritious food, and meaningful human connection all shape hormonal health. The body listens not only to what we eat or how we sleep, but to the world we live in, to its noise and silence, its rhythms and disruptions. The future of health, then, lies in creating environments that allow the body's wisdom to express itself freely without interference. Healing, at its deepest level, is a form of remembrance. The body never forgets how to return to balance. It only loses its way amid the noise of modern life. Through rest, care, and attention, the endocrine system finds its rhythm again. The thyroid hums softly, the adrenals breathe more slowly, the pancreas regulates its flow with ease. Even after illness, even after years of imbalance, the body's capacity for restoration remains. Each hormone resumes its place in the grand design. Each cell listens once more to the steady rhythm of the whole. As you breathe, this process unfolds quietly within you. Every cell, every organ, participates in the silent act of renewal. The endocrine system, with all its complexity, continues to guide this restoration, measuring, adjusting, and harmonizing. The pulse slows, the mind settles, and balance returns, not through effort but through trust in the body's wisdom. Healing is not a miracle of sudden change, but the patient work of rhythm, the soft realignment of life's currents until peace flows once more. In the unfolding future of endocrine science, this understanding will remain its foundation, that healing does not come from conquering imbalance, but from listening to it. The body is not a machine to be repaired, but a living harmony to be retuned. And within each of us, as in the quiet beating of the heart, the promise of balance endures an eternal rhythm, waiting always to be restored. 19. The endocrine symphony integration of mind, body, and spirit. There is a quiet music that plays within the human body, a symphony of impulses and molecules, of nerves and hormones, woven so delicately that it unites thought and flesh into one living harmony. The endocrine system is not only a network of glands, it is a bridge, linking the tangible body to the unseen realms of emotion and consciousness. Through it, the mind becomes matter, and matter becomes feeling. It is here, in this constant conversation between chemistry and awareness, that the integration of mind, body, and spirit unfolds not as separate realms, but as one continuum of life. From the first stirrings of thought in the brain to the slow release of hormones into the blood, there exists no boundary between physical and spiritual experience. Every emotion, every intention, quiet reflection finds its echo in the endocrine system. When the mind feels peace, oxytocin and serotonin rise. When it feels gratitude, endorphins and dopamine flow. When it experiences fear, cortisol and adrenaline awaken to protect. The body does not distinguish between the inner world and the outer one. It responds faithfully to both, shaping its chemistry according to what the mind perceives and the heart believes. In this way, the endocrine system becomes the silent instrument through which spirit expresses itself in the living form. This unity is most clearly seen in the way hormones translate emotion into action. A thought of love can quicken the heart just as surely as running can. A memory of sorrow can bring tears before a single word is spoken. The hypothalamus, seated deep within the brain, acts as the interpreter of the mind's signals. When calm and compassion dwell in thought, it releases messages that soften the heart, rate, relax the breath, and quiet the blood. When anger or fear arise, it signals the adrenals, urging the body to defend. Every heartbeat becomes a word in this dialogue between emotion and physiology, the soul speaking to the body in the language of hormones. The pituitary gland, often called the master gland, extends this dialogue throughout the body. It releases its own chemical messengers under the guidance of the hypothalamus, ensuring that the thyroid, adrenals, and reproductive organs respond in concert. The result is an intricate interplay of signals. Not unlike the harmonies of an orchestra, the thyroid sustains energy, the adrenals regulate focus, the gonads shape emotion and drive, and together they produce the felt sense of being alive, the vibrancy of existence that touches both body and mind. When this system is balanced, the individual feels whole, capable of clarity and compassion in equal measure. When imbalance arises, the harmony fades, and one feels dissonance within, as though the music of life has fallen out of tune. The endocrine system's reach extends even into the subtleties of consciousness, the ways we perceive meaning and connection. When one feels awe or reverence, whether in nature, art, or silence, the brain releases a cascade of hormones that slow the pulse and deepen breathing. This state of quiet unity is often described as spiritual. Oxytocin rises, linking feeling to belonging. Dopamine rewards the sense of wonder. Serotonin stabilizes mood into calm. These same chemicals foster empathy, kindness, and creativity qualities, often associated with the higher expressions of human nature. Thus, the endocrine system not only sustains life but enriches it, allowing physical existence to become a vessel for joy and insight. In moments of meditation or deep reflection, this harmony becomes especially clear. The slowing of the breath and the calming of thought lower cortisol, adrenaline, while increasing melatonin and endorphins. Blood pressure falls, the heart moves in a steady rhythm, and the mind grows luminous in stillness. These changes are not imagined. They are the measurable expressions of peace within the body. The endocrine system, ever responsive, mirrors the inner quiet by shifting into balance. The glands, freed from urgency, release their signals in gentle waves, restoring energy where it was drained and soothing inflammation where it once burned. In this stillness, body and spirit merge, one nourishes the other in an unbroken circle of calm. The same unity appears in the rhythms of love and human connection. A kind word, a shared glance, a moment of understanding can alter the body's chemistry as profoundly as any medicine. Oxytocin floods the bloodstream, lowering stress, easing pain, and fostering trust. The vagus nerve, a bridge between heart and brain, carries these signals through the body, synchronizing heartbeat and emotion. Endorphins create warmth and serenity, while serotonin sustains the contentment that follows. The endocrine system responds to connection because it is built for it. We are creatures of shared chemistry, each heartbeat subtly influenced by the presence of another. When imbalance arises through stress, isolation, or fear, the harmony between mind and body grows strained. The spirit may feel distant, the body heavy, the thoughts clouded. Cortisol lingers when it should fade. Melatonin fails to rise, and the rhythm of hormones becomes fragmented. Yet even then, the body does not abandon its search for balance. Small acts of care, a slow breath, a moment of stillness, a return to nature begin to restore the conversation. The endocrine system listens with remarkable patience, responding to the softest gestures of healing. It needs no command, only permission, the permission to return to peace. Science continues to explore these intersections of biology and spirit. Research into psychoneuroendocrinology, the study of how the mind, nerves, and hormones interact, reveals that thoughts and emotions shape physical health as surely as diet or exercise do. Gratitude lowers stress hormones. Mindfulness strengthens immune function. Compassion increases oxytocin and endorphins. These discoveries, though modern in method, echo ancient understanding that body, mind, and spirit are not separate, but reflections of the same current of life. The endocrine system is the physical expression of that current, its measurable rhythm, its tangible harmony. Perhaps this is why the language of music and balance so naturally fits the body's inner workings. Each gland has its own tone, its own contribution to the larger song of being. The thyroid hums with warmth. The adrenals beat in time with the heart. The pancreas moves in sync with nourishment, and the reproductive glands create the deep undertones of renewal and creation. The hypothalamus and pituitary serve as conductors, ensuring that each instrument follows the rhythm of the whole. When life moves smoothly, the melody is effortless. When stress or sorrow intervene, the tempo stumbles, yet the music never stops. It waits, patient and persistent, for the return of calm, when the notes realign and the harmony is restored. In this light, healing is not about silencing one part of the body, but bringing every note back into accord. A calm mind soothes the adrenals. A nourished body steadies the thyroid. A compassionate heart strengthens the immune system. The endocrine system responds to all of it, recording every act of kindness. Each of these experiences rebalances the flow of hormones, reaffirming the unity that defines human life. In truth, the endocrine symphony is not confined to the body at all. It extends outward, connecting each living being to the wider harmony of nature. The same rhythms that govern the tides and the turning of the earth echo within the blood. The same light that signals dawn awakens the hypothalamus. The same stillness that settles overnight fills the body with melatonin and rest. The human endocrine system is, quite literally, an instrument of the universe's rhythm, and so, the integration of mind, body, and spirit is not a pursuit to be achieved, but a state to be remembered. It is already present in every heartbeat and every breath. The mind, with its thoughts and dreams, the body, with its cells and hormones, and the spirit, with its sense of purpose and awe, are all movements within the same song. The endocrine system plays its part faithfully, translating emotion into action, thought into chemistry, and experience into growth. When it is balanced, we feel whole. When it falters, we are reminded to listen again to the music within, to breathe. Body prepares for rest. This symphony softens into silence. Melatonin rises, cortisol falls, and the heart beats with tranquil steadiness. The mind drifts, the spirit loosens, and the body renews itself through its timeless rhythm. In this stillness, there is no separation, only harmony, vast and serene. The endocrine system continues its gentle song beneath awareness, carrying forward the memory of balance, the promise of restoration, and the eternal truth that all parts of life, mind, body, and spirit move together in one continuous breath. 20. The eternal rhythm hormones, time, and the continuity of life. Time moves through the body, not as a straight line, but as a gentle, unending circle. Within this circle, the endocrine system keeps its quiet rhythm, a steady pulse that aligns the living being with the larger flow of existence. Hormones are the instruments through which the body perceives time, measures it, and moves with it. They rise and fall like tides, follow the light and darkness of the world, and echo the vast cycles of life and renewal that have existed since the first spark of creation. Through them, the body remembers what the mind forgets, that all of life is cyclical, that beginnings and endings are only different moments of the same eternal song. From the moment life begins, hormones define the pace of growth. In the earliest stage of existence, they mark the hours of cellular division and the quiet unfolding of the embryo. Each heartbeat, each breath, emerges from chemical signals that respond to time. As the body matures, the hypothalamus begins to act as an internal clock, setting in motion the circadian rhythm that will guide life from morning to night, from season to season. Cortisol and melatonin rise and fall with the rotation of the earth, marking the passing of day and night. These rhythms, synchronized with the turning of the planet, are the body's way of keeping time, not through numbers or minutes, but through cycles of light, rest, and renewal. The passage of time within the body is written not in years but in rhythms. There is the rhythm of the heart, the steady beat that never falters from the first moment of life until the last. There is the rhythm of breath, expanding and contracting like the tide. And beneath these, subtler still, is the rhythm of hormones, invisible currents that guide growth, reproduction, hunger, and sleep. Every hormone moves according to its own tempo, and yet all harmonize into a single flow. Insulin rises after nourishment, growth hormone during sleep, estrogen and testosterone through the cycles of life. These patterns are not rigid but fluid, adapting to the needs of each moment. The body is not a clock that ticks, but a river that flows shaped by time, yet always finding its own course. In childhood, time feels boundless because the endocrine system is full of motion and expansion. Growth hormone, thyroid hormone, and insulin collaborate to build the percent tissues of life. Days seem long and full, as the body's metabolism burns bright and unburdened by the weight of years. During adolescence, time accelerates. The surge of sex hormones brings transformation, emotion, and awareness of the self's place within time. The child awakens into a new rhythm, one that pulses with intensity and curiosity. The endocrine system conducts this change with precision, guiding the body into maturity through the alternating rises and falls of estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. In adulthood, time deepens rather than hastens. The endocrine system learns the art of maintenance, a balance between activity and restoration. Cortisol rises with the dawn, preparing the body for action, while melatonin guides its descent into rest. The thyroid keeps metabolism steady, neither too quick nor too slow, ensuring that energy is used wisely. This is the rhythm of stability, of continuity, where life cycles are predictable and harmonious. Yet even here, the endocrine system remains attuned to subtle shifts. It responds to seasons, to stress, to love, to the passing of years. Each experience leaves its impression, altering the pattern slightly, adding richness to the rhythm's unfolding. As time continues its quiet progression, the body begins to turn inward. The great surges of youth soften, the cycles of reproduction slow, and the pace of hormones eases into calm. In women, the end of fertility marks a transformation, not an ending, but a new season. Estrogen and progesterone fall into a quieter pattern, and the body learns again how to find balance without their familiar influence. In men, testosterone's gradual decline brings a similar shift, a gentling of the body's intensity, a quietening of physical urgency. These changes, often seen as decline, are in truth adaptations, a redirection of energy from creation and growth toward reflection and preservation. The endocrine system, faithful as ever, guides this transition with patient grace. Time, as measured through hormones, is not only biological but emotional. The same chemicals that regulate growth and metabolism also shape how we experience memory and meaning. Cortisol, for example, etches intense moments into memory, ensuring that lessons learned through effort or danger are not easily forgotten. Oxytocin and dopamine link joy and connection to the passage of time, allowing love and belonging to form the landmarks of memory. Even melatonin, rising each night, reminds the body of the rhythm between wakefulness and surrender, life and rest. Through these messengers, time becomes not a cold measure of duration but a living experience, something felt, remembered, and shared. The cycles of the endocrine system also mirror those of the natural world. The waxing and waning of hormones reflect the lunar phases, the turning of the seasons, and the steady movement of the stars. In spring, when sunlight returns, melatonin shortens its reign, serotonin lifts, and the body awakens. In summer, metabolism and mood rise with the length of the days. Autumn brings a slowing, a gathering inward. Cortisol and thyroid hormones adjust as the light fades. In winter, melatonin deepens its hold, and the body finds rest in the long darkness. The endocrine system is not apart from these changes. It is part of them, translating the language of the cosmos into the chemistry of life. Each heartbeat and breath carries the same pulse that moves through oceans, winds, and galaxies. Modern life often obscures these natural rhythms, filling time with artificial light, noise, and urgency. The endocrine system, sensitive and ancient, must constantly adapt to this unsteady tempo. When light shines too late, melatonin's rhythm is delayed. When rest is shortened, cortisol lingers into night. When food and work lose their natural timing, insulin and leptin struggle to keep their balance. Harmony. It listens for the cues. It still recognizes the warmth of morning light, the coolness of evening air, the rhythm of breathing and heartbeats, and adjusts itself to find the closest possible balance. This capacity for renewal is the hallmark of life's continuity. No matter how far the rhythm drifts, it can always return. The continuity of life is carried not only through time but through generations. Hormones guide the creation of life in one body and pass their influence into another. During pregnancy, maternal hormones nurture not only the developing child's body but also the foundation of its future endocrine rhythm. The newborn, upon entering the world, carries within it the memory of that harmony, the circadian pulse, the balance of growth and rest. Thus, the rhythm of life does not begin or end within one individual. It is shared, transmitted, and renewed endlessly. The endocrine system is both the keeper of personal balance and the vessel of collective continuity, linking each living being to those who came before and those yet to come. In the final movement of life, the endocrine rhythm slows but does not cease. Growth hormones fade, sex hormones quiet, but the body continues its dialogue with time through other messengers, cortisol, melatonin, and oxytocin among them. The latter, the hormone of love and connection, often grows stronger in later years, softening the spirit with compassion and calm. The endocrine system, even as it releases its hold on physical vigor, deepens its connection to peace. It shifts from the rhythm of striving to the rhythm of being, guiding the body toward rest with the same grace with which it once guided it toward life. The eternal rhythm of hormones is the rhythm of life itself, a cycle of awakening, flourishing, resting, and renewal. It is the same pattern that moves through every living thing, from the smallest seed to the greatest star. The endocrine system is the body's way of participating in that universal rhythm, translating time into experience, light into life, and change into meaning. Though each life follows its own unique tempo, all return to the same underlying melody, a pulse older than memory, as constant as the turning of the earth. As you rest now, this rhythm continues within you, quiet and unbroken. The body listens to the night, releasing its final messages of calm. Melatonin rises gently. Cortisol softens into silence. The breath moves evenly. The heart keeps time, and the hormones of peace drift through your blood like the tides beneath a tranquil moon. Time, in this stillness, feels endless, not rushing forward but circling inward, carrying you through the eternal rhythm that sustains all life. You are part of it, woven into the same music that has always played and that will never cease.